implants. See online for our price match promise. Banning Dental Group clinics. Keep on smiling.
Keep on smiling, and the whole world smiles with you.
banningdental.co.uk.
Before you renew your private health insurance, are you sure you're getting the right cover at the right price? At the Private Healthcare Company, we compare a range of leading providers to find cover matched to your needs, with a dedicated representative who'll support you from start to finish. Search the Private Healthcare Company today and see how much you could save on your renewal. The Private Healthcare Company, your personal private healthcare broker. Want a simple way to earn a fixed monthly income? At ULEZ Prosperity, you buy a ULEZ compliant vehicle from us, rent it back to us for a fixed monthly income, and at the end of the term, we buy it back from you at a fixed agreed price. We manage the vehicle, driver and operations. You simply receive the monthly income. Buy, rent, sell. It's that simple. Get conditions at ulezprosperity.com. Earn a steady monthly income at ulezprosperity.com.
Iain Dale. Text 84850. This is LBC.
22 minutes past 7. We're talking about Andy Burnham. He will become our new Prime Minister on Monday. What are your hopes? What are your fears for his premiership? What do you think the biggest challenges that are facing him that he'll have to deal with? And do you have confidence in his ability to do so? One of the things that I've been saying in various media interviews I've done over the past few days is that the one thing about Andy Burnham is that he talks a good game, and that is an important quality for a politician. But it can't just be talk. You've got to have the product to sell. And he's a good salesman, but if you haven't got a great product to sell, it's not going to work, is it? And I think either he has got all of this planned in a very short time, or he hasn't. I fear it's the former. No, well, I can't remember which order I put it in then. I fear that he hasn't done the planning because he hasn't had time to. And if that's the case, maybe he's doomed from the start. Or am I being a bit of a curmudgeon? Steve's in Guildford. Hello, Steve.
Yeah, evening, Ian. Yeah, you've written it on the edge in my book. You know, I've heard all these people bigging up Mr. Burnham, but I heard that 2 years ago with Starmer. Starmer never showed his personality, and he fell over flat on his face. Burnham hasn't really showed his personality. His track record's not great. Leadership contest he lost. He left the NHS with a bit of a cloud about all his spending and leaving it in debt. So when he come, and people in Manchester, they've been on the phone. I've got a family up there. I'm up there quite a lot. And, boy, he's done a job, but he's not the Messiah. And what he's going to come down to London to is a parliament with a factionalised Labour Party who have got their own way and will not give that up. So straight away, he's got the Parliament Party to worry about. And if he's to keep the same people or the majority of the people in power in the different ministries to keep it a nice flow, then we're no better off than we were when we had Starmer
Well,
on front of the ship.
That's very interesting what you say there, because I think Tony Benn used to say that it should all be about policy, not personalities. I don't agree with that. Of course, policies are important, but you have to have the right personalities to implement the policies. And I think we're going to learn a hell of a lot on Monday afternoon when he starts naming his cabinet, because he's got to make the right choices there. Now, it will be a mixture of some of the same people that Keir Starmer had, but he'll also bring in his own people, like Louise Haigh, who was originally in Starmer's cabinet but had to resign quite quickly. She will be back. I suspect she's going to be head of the cabinet office and sort of effectively head of delivery. Annalise Midgley is an MP that I must admit I don't know. I'd never heard of before this, but she's clearly been one of his chief advisors. Miata Fahnbulleh, who was on Cross Question on Monday, I wouldn't be surprised if she was promoted to the cabinet. And if you heard her performance on Monday, I mean, she was absolutely superb, I thought. So there will be lots of new faces. But the problem is that when you've got lots of new faces in a government, it takes them time to really learn the job. And they haven't got a lot of time, because if there isn't if the electorate and Labour MPs don't see meaningful change for, say, 6, 9 months, 12 months, there's going to be a lot of impatience, because it's all about the now, isn't it, politics today?
Well, it is about the now, but I think what what really tripped Labour up was they weren't prepared for government. And the people they put on their front benches weren't good enough to do their jobs. And it's bottom line, it shone through over 2 years, the way they spoke, especially when they came in and on the breakfast show, and they didn't have not one bit of sort of facts and figures for their department in their hands to show the complete incompetence. And it wasn't just one now and again, it was nearly every single one, every single time. Asked a pertinent question about, and they were absolutely clueless. They were like a load of school children sat in a classroom, and one day one person got picked to build milk monitor to go out and face people, because it was like watching children.
Well, I remember when Emma Reynolds, the Environment Minister, was interviewed by Nick Ferrari about this second Thames crossing. And I mean, she's like a gulping goldfish. She didn't seem to know where it was. She didn't know how long it was. She didn't know how much it cost. And I'm thinking, what are you doing coming on the radio when you haven't got the basic facts to hand?
Well, that's what I'm saying. People not qualified to do the job at hand. And now this cabinet, it's a very, very weak cabinet. Honestly, you saw them. You see them just bumbling about. There's no direction. The word you're looking for. There's no personality. There's no drive. It's all. Oh, I don't know. They're like lemmings. They just slightest thing. They just change direction, and you can't run governments like that. Now, unless Burnham can come down from the north and stay until he moves up to Coronation Street and say to his backbenchers, right, this is the manifesto. This is what we're doing. And I don't want no 67 of you telling me we're going to... Unless he gets that behind him, then he's just a lame duck Prime Minister until 29, as what Starmer is.
OK, thank you very much, Steve. Let's go to Marita in Lambeth. Hello, Marita.
Hey, Ian, how are you?
Good, thank you. What's your view?
I'm thinking back to the speech that he gave a couple of weeks ago where he talked about his repeatable, tangible metrics. And that's what, his record stood for himself. But, 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, forward rather, I still don't know what those repeatable, tangible metrics are that he's talking about that he wants to introduce to other places. And as you expertly did with the Liverpool mayor, you ripped two of them apart.
South Yorkshire.
Sorry, South Yorkshire. But
it's all in the north, Marita, isn't
it? Different sides. But yeah, you were able to dismantle the argument about his record on homelessness and about the buses, and you did that with relative ease. So I'm still none the wiser about what has actually Andy Burnham delivered for Manchester, and what are these repeatable, tangible metrics that he's going to be able to deliver.
I think that and this is where this whole vibes word comes in, which has become the word du jour regarding Andy Burnham. I think the vibe in Manchester is very positive. I think if you look at the Manchester skyline, there's been lots and lots of building over the last 10 years. I think the Manchester economy is growing faster than any other city in the country. So from that point of view, I think he can legitimately point to an effect that he's had. But I mean, this idea that he's been given this master class in how to be a mayor, he hasn't been successful in everything. And I think I do blame some of our media for not really looking into his record enough and actually exposing the fact that it isn't all that positive. Bits are, bits aren't. And you might say, well, any Prime Minister is going to have positives and negatives. Absolutely. And sometimes we concentrate exclusively on the negatives. But the fact is, Andy Burnham, over the last 4 weeks, since the Makerfield by-election, has not put himself up for scrutiny in any meaningful way. Yes, he did a 20-minute interview with Andrew Marr on this radio station. He's not done any other radio stations. He's not done any TV interviews at all. He's appeared on Gary Lineker's podcast, Whoopity-Doo. And you think, well, is this the way that he intends to go? He isn't putting himself up before Parliament before the summer recess. They could have easily extended the sittings until Tuesday or Wednesday next week, but they're not going to do that. So it'll be 6 weeks before MPs have a chance to question him. Do you think he's actually going to do many interviews where he could be interviewed by somebody to really scrutinise what his plans are? Shows no sign of doing that at all. And I think that's a democratic scandal. I don't know what you think, Marita.
No, I completely agree with you. I think the manner in which this whole thing has happened is it will in the future at some point come back to bite everybody in the butt. You've seen this kind of thing happen, where something is rubber stamped, it's just been pushed through, and then we'll all be looking at each other in 2 years' time, or maybe even shorter, and wondering how did we ever get to this place? Because nobody's asking the questions now about how have we let it get to this place. I just wanted to add about the growth in Manchester. If you've had a region or a town or a seaside town that's had zero investment for 5 or 10 or 15, 20 years, and you start putting money into it, of course you're going to see growth. The real challenge is once you've picked off all of that low-hanging fruit, how long are you going to be able to sustain that growth for? And I think they've earmarked areas outside London to push for the growth, which I don't think is a bad thing. But if it's just going to be a short, sharp bursts with there's no long-term plan for those regions, we're literally going to find ourselves back in the same situation in another decade or 20 years.
Okay, Marita, thank you very much indeed. Joseph says, he's not Prime Minister yet, you donut. Don't think I've ever been called a donut before. Is that the ones with the hole in, or jam, or custard, or chocolate? What kind of donut do you think I am, Joe? Oh, no, I shouldn't even ask that question, should I really? But there we go. We are going to be talking in a moment to our old friend Alexei Goncharenko, because Keir Starmer has headed off to Ukraine to meet with President Zelensky today. Keep your calls coming, 0345 6060 973. It's 7:32 on LBC. Let's get the news headlines from Amelia Cox.
Downing Street says FIFA should investigate celebrations by some Argentina players after last night's win against England in Atlanta. They held up a banner supporting the country's claims on the British Falkland Islands. Nominations have just closed in the Labour leadership contest, with Andy Burnham the only candidate. He'll be confirmed as the party's leader at an event tomorrow lunchtime. And the Pakistani government has told LBC the onus is on Britain when it comes to responsibility for the leader of the Rochdale grooming gang. The country has pushed back on calls for Shabir Ahmed to be deported, saying regardless of where he was born, the UK is where he grew up. LBC weather, dry tonight in the south and west with clear spells. Elsewhere it turns largely cloudy from the northeast, a low of 9 degrees.
This is LBC.
Vodafone is backing the UK with an £11 billion investment to make the nation's biggest network even better.
Fair play, that's a big commitment.
So you can launch that business.
So I can start selling my model trains in Pwllheli.
Multitask in a haze of glory.
I could stream Wimbledon whilst on a video call.
Start doing more of what you love from more places. Opportunity awaits. Switch to Vodafone today on the nation's network.
Nation's network means UK's biggest network through Vodafone 3 merger based on mobile sites versus major providers. Network improvements by 2034. See vodafone.co.uk/TNN. Subject to coverage.
Nothing beats a Jet2 holiday. So who's ready for the best summer yet? Unwind in your choice of 4- and 5-star hotels in over 75 destinations like Kos, Lake Garda and Gran Canaria. Plus, you'll get 22 kilograms of baggage included. Book now and save £200 per couple. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. After National Protected. Subject to availability and conditions.
Don't miss the fight before the fight. Anthony Joshua must survive the here and now.
Huge risk. I'm back. July 25th. Joshua versus Prenga. Live exclusively on DAZN.
So what if the drink's pink and the cream's pink?
Chill. It's no big deal.
Just get the new Strawberry Candy Floss Frappe from our new McCafe Summer Drinks range. Now at McDonald's. Available until the 7th of September. Price and participation may vary. Frappe is not available on delivery. Subject to availability.
Iain Dale on LBC.
7:35. Bob says, I call James a donut all the time. Bully for you, Bob. Now, as he prepares to head off into the sunset, Keir Starmer has made one final overseas trip as Prime Minister. He's been to Kiev to meet with President Zelensky and has promised him that Britain's support for Ukraine will not waver once Andy Burnham has replaced him as Prime Minister. Alexei Goncharenko is a member of Ukraine's parliament who represents the Odessa region. Good friend of the programme. Alexei, good to see you again. Do you fear yet another change of Prime Minister in this country possibly might weaken our support for Ukraine?
No, I don't. I'm not afraid of this. I don't think that this will happen. And I know that in British politics and the most important in British society, there is a consensus in support of Ukraine. And I want to thank British people for this consensus. But what I am afraid about, and I want to be frank with you, I think that it's not enough British leadership in this support today. What do I mean? Britain is a great supporter of Ukraine. But if in the beginning of 2022, and I've been to your studio, thanks for invitation, and you several times invited me to speak and so on, Britain was really a leader. UK showed leadership in support of Ukraine. Then after this, already starting 2023 and later, it's not the case. It doesn't mean that we don't feel this support. We feel this support, but Britain is not leading it. And we really need this leadership, especially now when American support is so wavering. So with all respect, I want to thank Prime Minister Starmer for his job, what he did for Ukraine. I'm not intruding into internal politics in the United Kingdom. But I hope Andy Burnham will do more. I want to be frank.
So what you're saying is that Boris Johnson provided leadership, but no other British Prime Minister, Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer, they haven't provided the same kind of leadership, even though they have been solid in their support for Ukraine.
That's true. That's true. That's what I see, and that's what I feel. I understand that there is a lot of internal issues inside United Kingdom, but also I want all your listeners to remember that story about Ukraine is not just about Ukraine and values. It's about how the Europe will look like. Will British soldiers die fighting in Baltic states? Whether it will be a big war in Europe, bigger than what's happening right now in Ukraine, and so on. So it's too much at stake. And without Britain, we couldn't get out of this.
So who is providing the leadership that Britain isn't providing, if anyone?
That's the problem. I don't see today who is doing this. We don't have American leadership in the way how we need to have it. France, not for French President Macron, soon is leaving, and so on and so on. And we need peace in Ukraine as soon as possible. And it would be great to have some champion. Maybe today one of such champions is Ursula von der Leyen as the President of the European Commission. She's doing a lot. I hoped and still hope that Germany will take more leadership because taking into account its weight and importance in the European Union. But I think Britain is really needed. So I hope that Prime Minister Andy Burnham will be such champion.
Now, I understand that President Zelensky has reshuffled his government and sacked his defence minister, even though that defence minister has actually been quite successful in his job. What's going on there?
Oh, it's a big story. Unfortunately, President Zelensky, I would try to be polite, not always put state interest in front of his personal political interests. And this case is one of examples of this. So he started to feel political competition from Mr. Fedorov. And when he feels something like this, his modus operandi, his way of doing is just to get rid of such people. That's what had happened with former Commander-in-Chief, now Ambassador to London, General Zaluzhny. That's what had happened with some other people. Now it has happened with already former Minister of Defense Fedorov. And it's a pity.
And how is that being covered in the Ukrainian media? And what do the Ukrainian people think about this?
I can't speak on behalf of all people, but today was, for the first time in this year, and last time it was a year ago when President Zelensky tried to take under control independent anti-corruptional bodies, people came to the streets and stopped it. Now people again came to the streets, not so many like a year ago, but still. And you can imagine that during the wartime with Russian attacks, it's quite something when people are coming to the streets. But this time it didn't help, and I think it will not help. So many people are unhappy. Others, they don't understand the reason why it has happened. Communicationally, it's also happened very strangely. And now the parliament is coming to some kind of recess now for 1 month. And unfortunately, right now, Ukraine doesn't have a 100% Minister of Defense. I mean, a legitimate Minister of Defense. We'll have some acting person at this position. We don't have a legitimate Minister of Foreign Affairs. We don't have legitimate leader of security service. And really, it's something concerning in the middle of full-scale invasion.
Well, quite. I mean, it seems very odd to sack your defence minister without actually knowing who you're going to replace him with.
Exactly. That's exactly what we are all feeling about. So we completely recognize that it is, according to Ukrainian constitution, it's absolutely up to the president who will be Minister of Defense, whom to propose to the parliament. It's right to say like this. But we don't understand why he didn't propose to the parliament today any new candidacy. The parliament stopped its operating for 1 month. So it's not good.
Alexei, thank you for joining us, and hope you'll be in London soon and we can have a chat. That's Alexei Goncharenko there, Ukrainian MP for Odessa. Right, we'll come back to your calls on the challenges that Andy Burnham faces when he takes over on Monday. Is there a particular policy that you think he should concentrate on, not to the exclusion of all others, but it would be nice for him to come in and say, right, my top priority. It's amazing how politicians often say they have many top priorities, but my top priority is to solve social care. If he could get to the general election and actually have done that, I think he would get a lot of political benefit from that, wouldn't he? 0345 6060 973. Let's go to Paul in Stoke-on-Trent. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Ian. How are you?
Good, thank you. What would you like to say?
It's more of a question, really, about how Mr. Burnham wants to bring devolution in. The Stoke-on-Trent area is quite a sort of deprived area now. It's been run down, I would say, since probably the 90s, when our industry went abroad, or some of our industry went abroad, and our local council isn't in a great place. So I just wonder how giving our local council more powers is actually going to help Stoke-on-Trent.
Well, I suppose the argument goes that the more decisions that can be taken at a local level, the better those decisions may be. Now, I'm sure there'll be people who can phone and say, well, our local council is making terrible decisions. But you can actually then hold people more accountable than you can if all the decisions are taken nationally, I suppose.
Yeah. I think one of the problems our area's got is it's one of those areas where people vote Labour because their parents told them to, if you like.
Haven't you got a Reform Council now?
We have, yeah, but...
Well, that rather defeats your argument, doesn't it?
Yeah, but we'll see where that goes. They've got 3 years to prove themselves, haven't they, I suppose?
Yeah, and I think, look, all over the country, there are Reform Councils with councillors who've never done the job before. Some of them finding it extremely challenging, particularly in terms of keeping to budgets. They haven't all been able to keep their promises not to increase council tax. And therefore, they run the risk of their electorates thinking, well, they're the same as everybody else. But as you say, they've got 3 years to prove themselves. But you sound a little doubtful, as if you think they will.
I don't know. I like to sort of see how. I don't believe words, I believe actions, if that makes sense. We've had lots of politicians over the years making lots of promises, and not a lot's really come out of it. They just tend to blame each other. I'd just like to see the whole country start to stabilise and move forward a little bit, rather than continuously going down the pan. Basically, that's how it feels.
And do you have any confidence that Andy Burnham has got the kind of character to lead us into a brighter future?
I'd like to know what he's actually going to do over the next 3 years. rather than, because what I've heard so far, it's almost like, well, this is going to take 10 years to deliver it, which I get that. It's not a small job. It's not like he can click his fingers and it'll all be roses.
Yeah.
But it'd be good to know what he's actually, what's he going to do over the next 3 years, because in 3 years it'll be, oh, well, I haven't delivered because of 14 years of Conservatives or Brexit or more and more excuses. But if you vote me in again, we'll do something. I don't have a lot of confidence, to be honest. I think it's just going to be more of the same, just a different wrapper.
Paul, thank you very much. Well, there's certainly going to be a different wrapper. You're absolutely right there. We'll come to more of your calls in just a moment. Let me tell you who's on Cross Question at 8. Mark Littlewood, Director of the Popular Conservatism Movement. Afia Hagan, broadcaster and journalist. Chris Webb, communications expert, former trade union representative and postal worker. Anita Boateng, a political commentator and former advisor to Conservative cabinet ministers. So they'll be here to answer your questions from 8. We're opening up the phone lines for Cross Question right now. It's 7:46.
On the latest episode of The Newsagents.
As the Argentinian players hold up a huge Malvinas banner on the pitch, we're just waiting to see what FIFA actually does. Is it going to be disciplinary action?
Get the latest episode of The Newsagents with Emily Maitlis, John Sopel and Lewis Goodall. Listen or watch on our free Global Player app or the LBC app.
Ever notice how some things are just standard? Traffic on the M4, standard. Meetings that could have been an email, standard. But at Aon, our cars are driving the new standard. The new Aon V has rapid charging, standard. Panoramic glass roof, standard. 8 years servicing, 8 years MOT, 8 years roadside assistance, and up to 8 years warranty. Also standard, thanks to our great 8 promise. Search Aon Auto to test drive today. T's and C's apply.
Goldbank London, a safe and sound way to buy and sell gold.
Start your journey in gold today.
Visit goldbank.co.uk.
OMG, you guys, this Arabian deep cleansing mud bath is just amazing. I can feel all the toxins draining out of my body.
Babe, you're literally sipping Prosecco right now.
Take the train to a country spa and save a third off group travel on off-peak journeys. Thameslink Railway, where every stop is a story. Terms apply.
Listeners, we interrupt the airwaves to share an incredible discovery. The reason why Britain hasn't been so great of late is because the country hasn't been eating enough Weetabix. We must get to work in rebuilding Great Britain, Bix by Bix. By delivering Weetabix to whoever plans the traffic diversions, to delivery drivers who can't seem to find your house, and people who don't stack the dishwasher properly. To Britain, we must say, have you had your Weetabix?
When it comes to shutters, you need to call in the experts. That's why thousands of happy customers choose Hillary's every year. Every one of our shutters comes with a 10-year guarantee as standard, and our UK-made shutters can be fitted in as little as 3 weeks. And if you find a cheaper quote, we'll match it, because we know you want the wow factor for your windows at the right price. And right now, save up to 50% off selected shutters in our summer sale. So get window-wise and book your free in-home appointment today at hillarys.co.uk. Conditions apply.
Iain Dale on LBC. Text 84850.
7:48 on LBC. Aiken says, Iain, thanks for exposing these figures for Andy's purported success in Manchester. Don't know if you mentioned that the bus system is running at a loss. You're the only broadcaster to read these figures out, which I've had for a long time. I think he will need to do more than walk on water or turning water into wine this time. Well, look, being Prime Minister, you've got nowhere to hide, because you've literally got the whole of the country's journalists on your back. And sometimes that is a good thing, sometimes it isn't. And I think sometimes the media in general can be very, very, sometimes goes over the top in alleging this, alleging that, saying, well, you've got to prove this, you've got to prove that. But I mean, the figures I read out on homelessness and the buses, I mean, they are actually facts. And I think if you overclaim on something, then you stand to be you stand to have a different version put to you. And that's all I was trying to do. Let's go to Bob in Manchester. Hello, Bob.
Hi, Iain. How's it going?
Good, thank you. So has he done a good job in Manchester for you?
It's very difficult to say from an individual's perspective. He's done a lot of visible things, the buses bridges obviously being one, the skyscrapers, etc. In terms of the actual numbers, it's really hard to say. The vibe is definitely good, but it's a good place in general. It's hard to know how much of the success to attribute to him personally, really, I would say. But the vibe is definitely good. So, yeah.
And do you think he can translate any success that he's had in Manchester into national politics? Because if he can't, that's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah. I think the main thing that sticks out to me from what he said so far, and most of it is quite vague, as you've pointed out, and he hasn't faced much scrutiny, but the main thing that sticks out to me is two phrases. So place first, not party first, and problem solving, not point scoring. Now, to me, that is very encouraging. And I think for most normal people who are just pragmatic and want problems to be solved, the intentional focus on that aspect of it is quite encouraging. When you compare that to other phrases like pure cold rage and all these kind of rhetorical instruments that are being used to whip people up just to take advantage of, political turmoil. And that's not even me having a massive dig at that party in particular, but I do think these phrases that he's coming up with and the issue that he's pointed out is a real one. And that is, we need to stop bickering in politics and actually just work together, get stuff done. And I think he's got a good chance of doing that if he can hold people together. So, yeah, I think that's the encouraging thing for me, that general sentiment.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to Jimmy in Thurrock. Jimmy, hi.
Hi there, Ian. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to discuss a comment that you brought up earlier that was a bit perfect for this, which was Andy was doing from the start. But before that, I just want to thank you for the weekend, the media round you did about Anne Widdecombe. It would have been a bit of a miserable space without your input, and it was a bit of a personal touch. So thanks for that, because it was a very upsetting weekend.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries. So, yeah, my main concern for Andy when he gets in Parliament, that first session, is someone that you've got quite a good rapport with and a bit of a double act with her when you have her on. Kemi Badenoch is going to absolutely rip him apart. We've seen how she dealt with, Keir's gormless lack of ability to be firm nature, almost toxic positivity to a fault, which is what the left are all about at the minute. And I can see the exact same in Andy. His whole campaign to getting here has been hiding from giving particulars. And a lot have cottoned on to the fact that this is just Keir Starmer with a Gallagher brother accent on. I don't see how he wins that first debate with her, and it can turn very nasty quickly. Because if she exposes him in that first one, his whole premiership is, set from then.
Well, I'm not sure I'm going to go along with you on that, because I think she's actually got a very difficult choice to make. Does she go in all guns blazing like she has done with Starmer, or does she hold her fire a bit and see what he does? Because he's made all these promises about doing things differently, doing politics differently. Well, that must involve doing Prime Minister's questions differently. And I'm not sure that's possible to do, because various prime ministers have basically tried to do that, but they all end up in the same Punch and Judy show that we see every Wednesday. And I think actually Andy Burnham is probably going to be quite good at that. So I think it should be quite a spectacle to see Kemi Badenoch and Andy Burnham square up. But I'm not sure that she's going to try and rip him apart from the start.
The mere fact is she could, though, because of it is just obviously he's got a lot of time now to set out a lot of different fundamentals to showing that he is different to Keir over the next few weeks. But we know that it can be, with the way the media is, they can twist it any way they want to make it look like he's better or not. And if he turns up to that first one without charisma, because I get what you're saying there. You're saying that because he's more of a calm, he's not self-centered like that, so he's going to bring a calm nature to that first debate, and it won't be Punch and Judy politics. It'll be more.
I didn't say he wasn't self-centered. I think he is probably quite self-centered. Most politicians are to a degree, but I think he's got the gift of the gab. I think he'll be quite good at one-liner retorts to Kemi Badenoch, which Keir Starmer never was, because as you said at the beginning, I think it was you said, that he just reverted to 14 wasted years. That's quite a good impression.
That was someone else, but that was someone else. I don't see how, because the interviews he's done lately. I watched the one with Lineker yesterday. He's still not giving particulars. No. And he's good at doing interviews one-on-one, and he's good at doing shorts on Twitter, that's controlled situation. It's not going to be a controlled situation with Kemi, and that's why I want to see how he reacts when it's not a controlled situation.
You see, I think she changed her approach to Prime Minister's question. She was trying to be a little bit too serious at the beginning, and then she worked out that actually this is basically about pantomime. And once she cottoned on to that, it transformed her performances. And I wonder whether I can see Andy Burnham as a pantomime dame. He's got the eyelashes for it, hasn't he? Yeah, I can't. There's too little personality there, and the personality seems manufactured to me. So I don't see unless his team, if his PR team are brilliant at getting him to look like a real human being again, which they are doing on a one-to-one basis, like I say, with the one-to-one interviews and with the shorts. But when he's on that podium up there and he's speaking in front of the dispatch box, I think that we're going to see him on his own. It is quite interesting. I'm trying to think of the last Prime Minister that would have come into office without actually having sat at the dispatch box or stood at the dispatch box for 16 years, because the last time he did that, well, on the government side, was in obviously 2010 when he was Health Secretary. He will be out of practice, because I don't know what the mechanisms are for holding the Greater Manchester Mayor to account, whether there was a sort of like a council chamber where he would have to answer questions. It was probably a one-to-one Zoom call with someone. It ain't going to be the same as this. Well, I don't know. So anyway, we will see how good he is at that. Thank you very much indeed, Jimmy. Let's rattle through some texts here. This is from Emma, who says, energy prices and lazy GPs for starters, those should be his priorities, according to Emma. Quite a contrast in the two things there, it has to be said. Joseph says, with magic wand in hand, overall, I would like our Prime Minister to think of ways of improving the productivity of the nation. Well, again, if he succeeds in that, he will have done something that no British Prime Minister has succeeded in decades, possibly even up to a century, I would suggest. Andy says, in answer to your question, the one thing I would like Burnham to do straight away is to stop bleating on about how everyone up north is so hard done by. It's getting tiresome already. Andy says he's unsurprisingly not from up north. Colin says, hi, Iain. I have heard nothing from Andy Burnham regarding taking positive action against Fujitsu. Interestingly, Fujitsu have secured more government contracts since the post office scandal. Well, that in itself, people might think, is a bit of a scandal. Anonymous one here. Iain, I have no idea why Starmer has been replaced. You haven't been listening to the programme hard enough, I don't think. And Paul says, no, we've already done that one. Let's move on to the next one. This is from Stephen on the Isle of Dogs, where I was at lunchtime today. Do you know, you can get from London Bridge to the Isle of Dogs on the Jubilee line in 8 minutes. And then from the Isle of Dogs, of Canary Wharf to Liverpool Street Station in 7 minutes. I mean, everyone says our transport infrastructure is not very good in this country. I would beg to differ, certainly in London. Steve says, no, you are wrong. The issue is that Westminster controls the money. So it really doesn't matter what the local areas decide. Well, that's exactly what I said, Stephen. I said that, I'm trying to remember, I was talking to Oliver Coppard, the Mayor of South Yorkshire, and he was saying that they want more powers. And I said, well, you have to have, if you have more powers, you have to have the money to take advantage of those powers. So we're actually on the same side, Stephen, even if you didn't realise it. Right, coming up in the next hour, it is Thursday's Cross Question. On the panel, Mark Littlewood, director of the Popular Conservatism Movement, PopCon, Afia Hagan, broadcaster and journalist, Chris Webb, communications expert, former trade union representative and postal worker, and Anita Boateng, political communications consultant and a former advisor to Conservative cabinet ministers. She's now a senior partner of the PR agency Portland Communications. They are here to answer your questions. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. And if you're not already watching us, I want to know why not. Click on the LBC app, Global Player, and the LBC YouTube channel.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, FIFA says it's investigating after several Argentina players held up a banner supporting the country's claim on the British Falkland Islands after their win over England. There are now calls for several Argentina players to be banned from the World Cup final. Political messaging is not allowed by FIFA. The 1982 Falklands War was sparked by Argentina's invasion of the British Islands, ending in a UK victory. But Sir Max Hastings, author of the book The Battle for the Falklands, told LBC there is no way we could achieve that again.
When it all began, I remember us thinking it's absolutely impossible that we can go to war in the year of our Lord 1982 over this stupid bit of real estate in the middle of the South Atlantic. And yet we did. And we just got away with it.
Sir Keir Starmer's in Ukraine, where he's announced a more than £255 million package of support for Kyiv, which includes more fighter jets. The Prime Minister was also awarded the Order of Freedom, the highest honour for a foreigner in Ukraine. The final nominations for the Labour leadership have closed this evening. As Andy Burnham is the only person in the running to be the leader of the party, he will be confirmed as the party's leader tomorrow. The former Manchester mayor will then become Prime Minister on Monday. Oliver Coppard, Labour's mayor for South Yorkshire, told Iain Dale on LBC what he thinks we can expect.
A greater focus on the north, greater focus on devolution. Andy is a good politician. He is a good communicator. He knows that he needs to establish himself, I think, in the public eye. It's what he did in Greater Manchester when he came in. He said he was going to tackle homelessness and crack down on that problem, and he did. I think Andy is going to have a specific set of challenges that he is going to want to address, and he's going to communicate them effectively.
The sale of high caffeine energy drinks to under-16s is to be banned in England from April next year. The ban includes all retailers, including online, in-shops and restaurants. They'll also be banned from vending machines to prevent under-16s from buying them there. And the government's been advised to offer a meningitis B vaccine on the NHS for children aged 15. It follows a series of outbreaks of the disease which left 2 teenagers dead in Kent. In the city, the FTSE 100 closed up 56 points at 10,572. The pound buys $1.34 and €1.17. LBC weather. Dry tonight in the south and west with some clear spells. Elsewhere turning largely cloudy from the northeast, a low of 9 degrees. From Global's newsroom, for LBC, I'm Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC. From Global. Leading Britain's conversation. Cross Question. With Iain Dale.
Hello, very good evening and welcome to Thursday's Cross Question. It's 3 minutes past 8. Let me tell you who's on the panel. To my right, Anita Boateng, political commentator and former advisor to Conservative cabinet ministers. She is now not what I told you she was earlier. She's had a change of job. She's now got the wonderful title of President, which is a very American import, isn't it?
Yes,
she is president of Hanover Communications. To my left, Afia Hagan, who is a broadcaster and journalist. And to her left, Chris Webb, communications expert, former trade union representative and postal worker, good friend of the programme. Welcome, Chris. It's your debut. You at all nervous?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, to be honest.
Good.
You all made me feel really welcome already.
Right, lots of questions coming in already. 0345 6060 973 is the number to call. I would love you to watch us on Global Player, the LBC app, and the LBC YouTube channel. Not all at the same time, one or the other.
Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Cross Question. Watch live on our free Global Player app or the LBC app.
Now, you may have noticed that I've only introduced 3 panellists. Our 4th panellist has had what he calls a transport disaster. But Mark Littlewood will be here, but we think probably not until about 8:30. So we look forward to seeing him then. Which means that our other 3 panellists have much more time to talk. So that's a good thing, isn't it? John is in Hammersmith and has what I have no doubt will be an excellent question. Hello, John.
Hey. So some of the callers have been leaning like the Tower of Pisa. So let's drag it back upright a minute. What can Mr. Burnham do to continue Britain's position as the number 1 in the G7 for growth and to surpass the 1.3% growth of last year?
Right. Well, the International Monetary Fund has warned today that the UK economic state will not allow Andy Burnham to increase public spending. But what should Andy Burnham do to keep Britain number 1 in the G7 for growth? Afia.
Ooh, that is a good question. I mean, he has a hell of a job in front of him. doesn't he, inheriting this government. I think when it comes to being number one in the G7, I mean, there's real conversations about who's going to be the Chancellor, isn't there? I think at the moment, and of course, he's decided he's not going to tell anyone his cabinet until he is installed. I'm not sure how the markets will feel about that. I think in terms of, you know, making sure that Britain continues to grow and continues to feed this growth, I think we have got to have a Chancellor that's going to lean into that, whether that's Rachel Reeves, whether that's someone else. I don't know who he's decided. It might be me or you. We don't know because
we could do it jointly.
I think that would be great. Actually, I'll do Mondays and Tuesdays. You do the rest of the week. But it all depends on who he's going to pick. Will his devolved government idea contribute to growth? I think that's what he really wants, right? If he decides that he's going to have a number 10 in the north and it's all about the devolved areas, knowing what those areas want, pumping money into that, will that achieve growth? Perhaps. That's what he's looking for.
But according to the IMF, he's got no money to pump into anything.
Absolutely. And we still have that £15 billion hole when it comes to defence. And that's absolutely critical. That's something that, needs to be plugged sooner rather than later. And so how he achieves growth, I think maybe he has to go back out at the back of Downing Street and shake that money tree that we've heard so much about.
Something that, Anita, I know you won't want him to do.
Absolutely. I mean, the answer to the question, how do you grow the economy, is work with business and stop getting in their way and stop taxing them as highly. And when you look at the IMF's predictions around the amount of struggle there's going to be to generate increases in public spending, he's going to the money tree. And that money tree is business. And that business taxation massively impacts the ability to grow the economy, to pay workers, and ultimately to result in growth that gets us out of this doom loop. And I think unless Andy Burnham is really committed to carving a different path from the one of Keir Starmer, rather than just talking about growth, but doing difficult things, not easy things, to really drive growth, then I think we're going to get nowhere.
Why is it, do you think, that over the past couple of decades, possibly going back longer, that the free market argument has been lost, that people do not understand that the way to get growth, the way to encourage business activity, the way to encourage people to start new businesses is to give them incentives, to reduce taxes and reduce regulation. It's actually very simple, and yet that nobody seems to be talking about that. And I think people on the right have failed to explain what capitalism is all about.
I think they've failed to explain it, but also they've failed to have the courage to be unpopular when doing so, because there is this massive, post the financial crisis in 2008, there is this huge desire to ensure that we're giving the public as much as we can in a situation where the economy isn't growing. So rather than doing things that sound difficult to sell, like we're going to cut taxes on people that invest in this country, we're doing the opposite and then being surprised by the result. And ultimately, we end up in this downward spiral where we are looking at very modest growth, which John says is, the number one in the G7 for one quarter, and it's still incredibly slow at 1.7%.
Chris Webb.
Yeah, good question, John. You've got a great voice for radio, John, as well, haven't you? The way you pitched that question. I think that we do too much bow into big business, and I think we need a real rebalance in this country. This country's never been more equal. I walked from Waterloo to here before I started the show and walked past at least 2 or 3 dozen homeless people. We have 4 million kids living in poverty in this country. We have 2 million kids today who have missed a meal. We have 3 million people who are in work but also claiming benefits because their wages don't give them enough to actually be able to live. So the growth that I want to talk about, and I think the growth that people actually want to see, is growth they can feel. Because business, it's okay.
How do you do that? By punishing business?
It's not about punishing all business, is it? It's about looking at some of the businesses in the country. Because some people, businesses do a fantastic job, and they set about to earn themselves some money, which is brilliant because they're entrepreneurs. They deserve the right to set something up and make some money. But some people in this country and some people internationally make their money off underpaying and taking advantage of their workers. We have companies like Amazon where we have somebody who is so rich he could live for 10, 20, 30,000 more years on £1,000 a day, and it wouldn't touch his wealth, whilst we have couriers here in this country on Amazon going out earning near enough less than the minimum wage, working 15 or 16 hours a day. I stopped at a petrol station about a week ago. I saw a Deliveroo rider put £2 of fuel into his petrol tank, assumably because that's literally all he had, so he could carry on about his job and his role. I think that there's too much of an obsession. I know obviously Anita's going to come from that background, but there is an absolute obsession with business when everybody has to play their part to rebalance the economy. Everybody has to play their part to deliver a better society.
But I also think we need to absolutely encourage business. We need to encourage entrepreneurship. The hospitality sector, for instance, is absolutely on its knees. It's struggling so badly because of business rates. Restaurants, pubs are going out of business left, right, and centre. People are really struggling when they are trying to do the entrepreneurial thing, when they are trying to open up their own business and like you said, put money in their pockets. I think there has to be a balance between making sure we are not pandering too much to huge business, making sure that we are taxing huge business correctly, but also making it much easier, like I think Anita was alluding to, much easier for people to set up businesses, make money from those businesses, and pay taxes, and that's going to grow the economy. But we have to make it more favourable for people to do that. And I just think at the moment it's absolutely not.
I mean, I agree with a lot of the points Major Steph here. Like the situation is very clear that we want to encourage entrepreneurship. But I think we get to this odd place where we say it's good for you to grow a business, but if you get too big, that's a problem. What I didn't hear from Chris, I didn't hear.
It's very different.
How do you define greedy?
And I didn't hear a proposal for how to grow the economy. I heard a proposal for why actually the minimum wage might not be high enough. Fine, that's a different conversation. How do you drive growth? Because at the moment, the companies that are growing are the big ones, and there aren't a lot of options to drive the kinds of economic growth that's going to make a meaningful difference to the lives of the workers you're talking about, Chris. And we keep hearing this prescription of it's not fair, companies are greedy. What we haven't heard is another solution to this problem.
I'll give you one. I'll give you a solution because it's very simple. You share the wealth. Because how
does that drive growth?
No, let me finish the answer. You're here to represent those people, and that's fine. You're here to talk on behalf of it. That's fine. That's not where I come from. I've represented all my life working class people. Yeah?
I do too. I'm working class too.
People who are in the situation that they find themselves in this country at the minute, your point, hospitality industry is on its knees. People have not got the money to spend in the hospitality industry. So the point of how we grow the economy is maybe someone does not need to be a trillionaire. Maybe we don't need the top 56 people in this country owning more wealth than the bottom 29 million people in this country. And maybe if that was rebalanced a bit more, then those people would have money to go into hospitality, go into restaurants, go into retail and rebalance things. And I'm sorry, this country has never been more unequal and it needs to change.
I think we have tried the system of why don't we keep increasing taxation? And we absolutely know the top 1%.
Taxation. That's not what I said.
Well,
that's not what I said.
You said they shouldn't be trillionaires, which I presume means that they should be taxed more so they don't acquire
who
wealth.
Needs £1 trillion in it? Well, what sort of bizarre debate is this?
I think we're talking about a very small group of people in the country. What I'm talking about is benefiting everyone by driving growth. And I think there is this notion that there are a very small number of people that if we just tax those, all the problems in the UK would be solved. And I think if it were that easy, we wouldn't be in this situation.
I've just presented you 56 people in this country own more wealth than 29 million. And you say, well, how could that be rebalanced? Well, it could be rebalanced, couldn't it, quite simply?
The fact is, I mean, let me put this to you. I know 3 billionaires, and I'm thinking of one of them here. This guy doesn't sort of like live a particularly luxurious lifestyle. He's not a greedy person. He invests in a lot of new businesses, startups, becomes an angel investor, and takes the risk of losing that investment because not all new companies succeed. And I think it has, over the years, probably created a 6-figure sum of jobs throughout his entire business career. So I think when you talk about billionaires or trillionaires, do you not feel that it's sort of like the language of class envy, where because someone has a lot of money, therefore they're almost intrinsically evil, they're exploiting people all the time? Now, there may well be one or two people that do that. I'm not denying that.
I think there's more than one.
But a lot of them do not. A lot of them actually invest in the economy because, I mean, I wouldn't know what to do if I had £1 billion. I mean, well, I probably could spend it, but I mean,
West Ham United, surely.
I'll buy it. Yeah. Absolutely. So you've solved that one. But generally, I think most richer people are not just motivated by accumulating an ever-increasing amount of wealth. A lot of them are great philanthropists. And I think in America, possibly more so than here. We never hear about that.
No.
Afi, you wanted to come in.
Hi, Afi.
Yeah, sorry. To your point, I think we kind of do have this assumption that if you are a billionaire or a trillionaire, then you are sort of this evil overlord. And I don't think that applies to everyone. But I do agree with you. Who needs £1 trillion? We absolutely do need to rebalance that. Absolutely. If the top 56 people in the country, their wealth exceeds, 29 million people on the bottom end, it doesn't work and it doesn't make sense, and that's not contributing to growth. I think maybe we need to come to a rebalance or a simplification of our tax system. If we're talking about how complicated our tax system is, we'd probably be here for days. But I think, number one, we need to make it easier for companies that are growing to grow. I think we need to definitely look at the taxation system when it comes to people who have incredible wealth to make sure that they are putting what they should be putting back into the economy. And when you have a growing business, perhaps, business rates could be lower. People have been talking for ages about how business rates have been crippling them. That's something that the government absolutely has to listen to because, listen, the billionaires and the trillionaires all started from somewhere.
I'm not here to defend wealthy people. I'm here to talk about growth. And I think what I'm not hearing is stuff that's actually going to drive material growth across the country. And I think the idea that there is enough wealth or growth in this country and we just need to redistribute it, I think does not engage with the reality of what's happened to this country post the financial crisis. There is not enough skills, there is not enough industry, there's not enough housing. All of these things come from enterprise, and we're not seeing enough of that. And I think that's going to be a huge challenge for Andy Burnham.
But then is that about them making the UK much more an attractive place?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These are the complex policy work. And instead, what we have is this notion that the problem is some people are too rich. And I think if that were the solution, we wouldn't be here.
But it's a myriad. It's not about being too rich. There's no problem with someone.
You just said, why
money.
Do we need trillionaires? Yeah. That is literally about people being too rich.
But that's because it's utterly ridiculous. And if you think that's a point to defend, then that's on yourself to defend.
You said it's not about being too rich. And then you said, why do you need trillionaires? I'm answering the point that Iain made, that not everyone who is earning money thinks that way, because there's some very good and very sort of ethical business people out there, and I think that's important I make that point. But for you to not accept the point that actually somebody who's got multi-billionaire pounds in the bank but pays someone the minimum wage to work 14, 15 hours out in this heat, in this pressure, delivering mail, on a construction site, delivering food to people is not right. It is fundamentally not right, and it is greed. I'm not defending that at all. I'm talking about growth.
If that money from that trillionaire, that billionaire, was in the pocket of that Deliveroo worker or that Amazon worker, then they would be spending it in our economy and growing our economy. So you asked for an answer. I'll give you an answer, which is if those people had more money to spend, they would spend it in the economy. But people like Musk, people like Bezos, they don't do that. They take their money, they take it offshore, and they put it in banks.
I'm not here to defend American billionaires. I don't know them. I'm talking about how, as a society in Britain, we can continue to drive growth. And I think the notion that there are a couple of companies, if only that was different, the economy would be different, I think is too simplistic for where we are right now.
Right, let's move on to a very different subject after the break. It's 19 minutes past 8.
This is LBC.
Us kids are mesmerised by the mundane, entranced by the everyday. Where grown-ups see a snail, we see a slippery shelled beast from the undergrowth. But around 1 in 5 young children have a sight condition that can get in the way of all that wonder. The good news is, if these are found early, they can be managed or corrected. So book your child a free eye test at Specsavers today. Find out more at specsavers.co.uk/kidstests.
Aha! Shiver me timbers! To the high seas! There's treasure and adventure across them waters!
Stop rocking the boat, Dad. You're making my feet wet.
Oh, sorry.
Explore Rye Pirates and Smugglers Day with kids' train tickets for £2 on off-peak journeys. Southern Railway, where every stop is a story. Terms apply.
Don't miss the fight before the fight. Anthony Joshua must survive the here and now.
Huge risk!
I'm back. July 25th, Joshua vs. Prenga, live exclusively on DAZN.
Get ready for even bigger savings in the Hillary's summer sale with an extra 10% off absolutely everything. That's on top of up to 50% off hundreds of made-to-measure blinds, curtains and shutters. Plus, right now, grab our introductory offer of up to 50% off selected brand new roller and vertical blinds. And don't forget, with Hillary's, measuring and fitting is always included. So get window-wise and book your free in-home appointment today at hillarys.co.uk. Conditions apply.
Cross Question with Iain Dale. Watch live on our free Global Player app or the LBC app.
8 on LBC. Chris is in Richmond, but before we go to Chris, I should reintroduce my panel. Afia Hagen is a broadcaster and journalist, Chris Webb, trade unionist, and Anita Boateng, defender of trillionaires.
Oh, no. First of all, there are no trillionaires in the United Kingdom. Can I just say that definitively? There are none.
She is president of Hanover Communications. Chris is in Richmond. Chris, hi.
Hello, good evening, panel. Ian. Should the Argentinian players involved in unfurling a banner about the Falklands yesterday be banned from playing in the World Cup final on Sunday?
I see, even I wouldn't go that far, but this is cool. We're going to talk about this after 9 o'clock, actually. It's caused a real stink. And what we ought to be talking about is the dirty tactics of the Argentinian football team last night. I mean, a flag, who gives it? I mean, they shouldn't have done it. It's against FIFA regulations. But we all know that FIFA have been desperate for Argentina to get into the final, haven't they?
Oh, God.
Or do you not give a damn about football?
No, I'm very much was. I was too anxious to watch most of it last night and then decided to switch over because I have this thing that whenever I watch England lose, and so I switch over and I was like, oh, it's 1-0, and then we saw what happened.
It is your fault.
So basically, it is my fault. I think that it was in such poor taste. It really, really was. That's not what we expect from football. And I actually think this World Cup as a whole has been wonderful. There's been so much energy and passion. And I think being in London as myself and like being Ghanaian and British, like seeing the energy from all of the fans and people just celebrating their countries has been great. And then I just think to do that after pulling off, a win from the jaws of defeat just felt completely unnecessary. I really hope they are investigated. I'm not sure. I think that it would be quite an escalation for FIFA to decide to ban the players.
So when England played Ghana, were you quite happy with the result?
It was a lot of this going on for that match.
But go on, who were you actually supporting?
Well, I root for the underdog, so I do feel like I thought Ghana had the tougher game, and I thought actually it was a good game. I'm sure frustrating for lots of people watching, but yeah.
Okay,
there
Chris.
We are. You may have a view too.
I was the same.
Let's go to Chris.
You've got two British Ghanaians.
I mean, it's FIFA, the organisation that banned England from wearing a poppy. Told the Haiti team they had to remove any symbolism of independence from their shirts, so they weren't able to wear the shirts they were originally designed for this World Cup. Also, I think I agree with Anita. It's been a fantastic World Cup. I think it's also right. We have to point out it's also been the most expensive World Cup in history, where lots and lots of fans have been priced out of going
and
there.
The most lucrative. FIFA have made somewhere between 13 and 14 billion pounds.
I mean, talk about people who could help rebalance the economy. Yeah. Taking some of FIFA's money would be a start. I think. I think it's a massive issue. I think I find it very childish, very petty. From the Argentinian players. I think I listened to Emi Martinez, who was the goalkeeper at Aston Villa, an Argentinian goalkeeper, and he, in his response in his interview last night, I thought he was quite good, and he was like, this isn't about that, this is about a football match, and I respect the people of England. I've learnt my living there, and I thought he summed it up well.
Perhaps he should tell his teammates.
And his vice president,
Yeah. Well, FIFA also prevented Harry Kane from wearing the One Love Rainbow captain's armband in 2022 because it considered that a political statement. Afia?
I think the problem is what you mentioned at the top here is that it feels to me that FIFA have been hell-bent on Argentina winning from the get-go, right? So if they want to prove that I'm wrong, then they need to judge Argentina by all the rules they've put in the past. So Hurricanes armband, banned. Can't wear poppies, fine. Can't have any sort of Haiti symbolism, as you said, on their shirts, fine. Then this unfurling of the flag needs to come under those same guidelines. And let's see if FIFA will put in some rules and some punishment. I think banning them from the final would be an overcorrection. I'm 100% sure that won't happen because, like I said, Lionel Messi and Infantino are like this, like brothers. And it does feel like they have been rooting for Argentina to win from the get-go. FIFA won't do anything because of that reason. So we will absolutely see that whole team, that whole bad-tempered with a bad attitude team in the final. And I was rooting for Ghana in the Ghana England.
You are forgiven. Now, I know the family background of all of our callers, and I happen to know that Chris has an Argentinian wife. Don't you, Chris? Now, I know she was watching it with your children in Argentina.
Yeah.
How has she reacted to this?
Well, that's probably better for a private conversation.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
No, it's all right. It's fine. We've had some robust discussions with her and our other family around particularly around the certain fouling and particularly the elbow incident, which I was less than amused about. And yes, one of my kids wanted us to win. One of my kids wanted the Argentinians to win, and then the little one was an England fan, and she was certainly not amused by some of the foul play, to be honest with you, or the flag afterwards.
I mean, should we just sort of think, okay, we expect this sort of thing from the Argentinians, but we know, 1966, Alf Ramsey called the Argentinian team animals for the way that they played, wouldn't shake the manager's hand after the game. But then we had the hand of God in 1982. We know that they can be, shall we say, robust in their tactics. But the fact is, they came back from 1-0 down, and a lot of people would say they deservedly won, and they were out, and our team was out tacticked, if that's a word, if that's a verb.
Yeah, 100%. They deserve to win. I mean, we made ridiculous substitutions in the second half, which were totally unnecessary. Thinking, we'll just rinse and repeat what happened in Mexico. You can't do that with a team like Argentina, and it's a massive shame we didn't play for our best players like Eze and Saka. And I feel sorry for everyone, including Tuchel, because if we'd won, he would have been. I
don't feel sorry for Tuchel at all. The fact is, we shouldn't have a German manager. The German national team would never have an English manager. And I also feel really bad because Lionel Scaloni, the Argentinian manager, he was the West Ham player in 2006 who gave the ball away. So Stevie Gerrard scored that daisy cutter. So we lost the FA Cup. Not that I'm bitter, you understand. Not that I am bitter.
Not a little bit.
Thank you, Chris. Let's go to Michael in Sunderland. And we have Mark Littlewood has just joined us.
Yes, I'm sorry I'm late, Ian. I've had an even worse transport disaster than England's defensive disaster last night. But
and a fashion disaster too.
And a bit of a fashion disaster. You can see my shirt, yes.
Right, Michael's in Sunderland. Hello, Michael.
Hi, nice to speak to you again, and evening to the rest of the panel. The question really follows what you've just said there. If the Argentines decided to invade the Falklands, would we have the resources to defend it like we did in 1982? Or is our defence, not just England, but always for this country, has it been exposed? And another little issue, would Trump intervene and which side would he pick, considering what he seems to like the president, isn't he, of Argentina?
Well, let's throw Mark Littlewood in at the deep end on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I worry that the state of our military and navy, Ian, is even worse than we're being told. I also worry about the state of our nuclear capacity. Not that I'd ever want to use it, but I would like to know it's in working order. I suspect we would struggle considerably more than we did in 1982. And this is not an easy thing to turn around, right? If you want to suddenly spend more on education or the National Health Service or welfare or pensions, you can almost flick a switch and you would start to see that money have effect in 6 months. If you want to turn around our defence sector, it's a 5 or 10 year haul, and I think we're exposed over that period of time.
We do have a garrison in the Falklands, and they do have air power, and the state. I mean, Chris in Richmond, who was just phoned in on the whole flag issue. I remember him telling me, because he knows quite a lot about Argentina, that if we think our defences are bad, you should look at the Argentinian state of the Argentinian.
Oh, I see. It's a bit like football. You only need to beat what's in front of you. So maybe that's the case.
But it is true that we would not be able to put a task force together, would we?
I think that's exactly right. We wouldn't be able to. I mean, I should say, I think this is largely posturing by Argentina. I don't want to sound complacent, but I think this is posturing. They're making a claim. They're celebrating getting one over their football rivals. I think I'm right in saying that there's a constitutional duty on the president to at least lay claim to the Falkland Islands. So there's a sort, he's got to say it. So I suspect, fingers crossed, it's all a lot of noise and not much signal.
And Afi, if it did happen, how do you think Donald Trump would play it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it depends on how he feels when he wakes up that morning, because he is so unpredictable, isn't he? I mean, it depends on his relationship with Andy Burnham when he comes into power on Monday. It will depend on how he feels, the relationship between the UK and the US is, are we best friends again? Are we allies? He's already sort of said that he and Andy Burnham are at the opposite ends of the scale. So I genuinely think it will depend on how he feels at the time.
Chris?
I think I agreed with quite a lot of what Mark said. I think it was posturing. I think it's a lot of noise. It's a lot of rebel rousing. It's a lot of giving people, we agree with you, rousing the people up. I think it was a lot of hype for the football match yesterday. If you saw the way that Argentinian team sang the national anthem, I've never seen it. It was like caged animals, wasn't it? And I think it was...
I had it on the screen in the studio, and I couldn't hear them, but you could just see the body language.
It was unbelievable. And when the... English national anthem was being sung, they were all singing over it, anti-English rhetoric. I think it was used to hype the nation, hype the fan base, hype the team, and it worked.
Anita?
I'm less pessimistic than everyone else, thinking that we'd have the resources, like aircraft carriers, submarines. Like, we don't have the same kind of personnel. There's different requirements. So literally, if the answer was like, do we have the resources? I think we do. We'd probably have to rely on allies more than we did when we had to go it alone back in 1982. But the broader question of like, are we adopting a defence posture that ensures anyone who wants to, quote unquote, try us knows that actually we're going to act, and we're going to act swiftly? I do think that the action we've taken in Ukraine, the help that we provided, you saw Keir Starmer today being honoured for that. I think that's a reminder that the UK still wants to play a really active role in the world, and I think that is really, really important. But ultimately, Mark, you are right. Investing in defence is about trade-offs. And I'm not sure that we are going to see under this new Prime Minister, or really in our modern politics, the ability to make the case for defence over some of the more pressing day-to-day concerns.
I think you also need a coherent foreign policy, right? So apparently the position of this government, I think of Andy Burnham, we'll wait and see, is we're a bit betwixt and between on Gibraltar. We still want to give away the Chagos Islands, but the Falkland Islands are ours. I'm trying to derive a coherent approach to sovereignty from those rather confused foreign policy positions.
Well, we'll leave our audience to think about that while they listen to the news on LBC. It's 8:32 and here's Daryl Jackson.
FIFA says it's investigating after several Argentina players held up a banner supporting the country's claim on the British Falkland Islands after their win over England. There are now calls for several Argentina players to be banned from the World Cup. Political messaging is not allowed by FIFA. The final nominations for the Labour leadership have closed this evening. As Andy Burnham's the only person in the running, he's on course to be confirmed the party's leader tomorrow and the Prime Minister on Monday. And a ban on the sale of caffeinated energy drinks to under-16s is to be brought in from April next year in England. It'll cover sales in shops as well as online. LBC weather: dry tonight in the south and west with clear spells. Elsewhere, turning largely cloudy from the northeast, a low of 9 degrees.
This is LBC.
OK, Laura, from the top.
When your 9-year-old is an unexpected tuba prodigy, and now you want to support her cheek-puffing talent, be a step ahead with Barclays Premier. With personalised financial planning and a dedicated advisor. Barclays, backing your future. Eligibility criteria apply. Investment products and services are provided by Barclays Bank PLC and its subsidiaries. Capital at risk.
Oppa! Greek Week is back at Lidl. Pick up whole Calamon olives for $2.29 with Lidl Plus. Or tzatziki with extra virgin olive oil for just $1.49. With over 100 products, it's everything you love about Greece. Minus the airport queue. Lidl. More to value. 18 plus GB only while stocks last. Terms apply. See lidl.co.uk/LPTV. Offer in 29th of July 26.
Don't miss the fight before the fight. Anthony Joshua must survive the here and now.
Huge risk! I'm back. July 25th, Joshua versus Prenga, live exclusively on DAZN.
Vodafone is backing the UK with an £11 billion investment to make the nation's biggest network even better.
Fair play, that's a big commitment.
So you can launch that business.
So I can start selling my model trains in Pwllheli.
Multitask in a haze of glory.
I could stream Wimbledon whilst on a video call.
Start doing more of what you love from more places. Opportunity awaits. Switch to Vodafone today on the Nation's network.
Nation's network means UK's biggest network through Vodafone 3 merger based on mobile sites versus major providers. Network improvements by 2034. See vodafone.co.uk/TNN. Subject to coverage.
Cross Question with Iain Dale on LBC.
8:34 on LBC. Mark Littlewood is here, Director of the Popular Conservatism Movement. Now, are you behind this CPAC conference?
Well, I'm not behind it in the sense I can claim no credit for it happening, but I am behind it in the sense that I approve of it and I was there today.
And how was that? Well, I mean, how many people were there?
I haven't counted. What, my rough guesstimate? A good number of hundreds, something like that.
Apparently we've got a question on it later.
Okay, all right.
So we won't go down that road now. Afia Hagen is here, broadcaster and journalist. Chris Webb, communications expert and trade unionist. And Anita Boateng, political commentator and president of Hanover Communications. This is from Andy, who says, so pleased Mark Littlewood could join you. That makes 3 Tories, including you, Iain, 1 centrist. I think he means that's you, Afia. You define yourself as being on the left.
Yeah.
So, and 1 left-winger gets more like GB News every day, he says. Well, you're completely wrong. We've got 2 people on the left and 2 people on the right, and me, my notorious independent self. Let's go to a question from Martin, who says, Does Sadiq Khan deserve a peerage on top of the knighthood he's already got? Now, the London Mayor has been given a seat in the House of Lords as one of 26 people given a life peerage in Sir Keir Starmer's resignation. Now, this is not Sir Keir Starmer's resignation honours list. They always have a peerage list in July, so he will have a resignation honours list, although he used to say he wouldn't have one a little later in the year. Now, the broadcaster June Sarpong and the former union leader Christina McAnee will also become Labour peers. The Liberal Democrats get 5 new peers, and the Conservatives only get 3. So if you want to bring that into the conversation, you may want to do that. Chris, what do you make of this? Does Sadiq Khan deserve a peerage?
I don't think anyone deserves a peerage. I think the whole system should be abolished. I think when you're talking about trying to get out there and talk to young people, talk to working class people, get them engaged in politics, and you look at the shambles that is the honours system and the backhanders and the characters that are in there and the images of people asleep in the House of Lords and the time it takes for them to decide anything, I think it's outdated and I think it should be abolished. And I think Londoners, many would look at Sadiq and think, I think he's done a reasonable job. Many people who are looking at things like the housing crisis and the infrastructure crisis in London would be saying other things, but I actually think it's more a question on the system, and I think people taking those honours should probably reconsider it, but that's up to them.
I think I kind of have to agree with you there. I think it's less about does Sadiq Khan deserve the honour and about do we really want to make the House of Lords any bigger than it is, you know?
Well, peers do die every year. So,
yeah, that's true.
And in each party will always say, well, we need to sort of replenish our benches.
But then is it just about rewarding political allies? Okay, one of them decides
yes,
I'm going to... Well, yeah, exactly. So then what becomes the point of the House of Lords? I mean, if we're talking about Sadiq Khan, you know, he's going to have been mayor for 10 years this year. No, 11 years, since 2016. He's been mayor. Whether you love him or hate him, he seems to be quite a divisive figure. He is one of Britain's most significant politicians.
It's odd to give him it while he's still the mayor, though. I mean, you might think, well, after he's finished being mayor, that would be a more appropriate time.
I mean, I don't think so. You've people in the House of Lords who, you know, do actually work. There's a few of them who do actually have a job and continue doing that whilst they have this peerage. I think it's fine to give it to him now whilst he's in office. But
is it a potential route into Burnham's cabinet for him via that route?
Well, there's a thought. I hadn't thought of that. It's possible, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
But you couldn't go into the cabinet while he's still mayor. You'd have to resign as well. Oh, and another by-election. Goodness me, Anita.
Yeah, I kind of think deserving is kind of I don't really think about peerages that way. I think there's some very good points being made about whether the House of Lords, Keir Starmer had a big ambition around abolishing the 92 hereditary peers. And then I think he ends his term with there being more peers than there were before. So I'm not sure we've ever really come up with a solution for the House of Lords that makes sense. I do think the Lords contribute a lot, actually. I think the conversations and debates that I hear coming from the House of Lords, the kind of independent thought, I think, as much as they obviously have a lot of party people, I find that the Lords has a mind of its own and can often have more interesting and important policy contributions than the House of Commons. So I think there is something in there. I'm never quite sure that we've gotten the right balance between the types of people that go in, because I think a lot of people around the country have a lot to contribute and would do a great job in the House of Lords.
That's interesting. Kemi Badenoch, she's appointed 3 people. I think, I can't remember who they are. In fact, I've never heard of any of them. But one's a philanthropist. I think there's 2 academics in that list. So she hasn't gone down the political appointee route.
Yeah.
Mark?
Yeah, it's a real problem, this, because I understand it's a farce, it's not democratic, let's abolish it, perhaps elect it. But if you want a soft revising chamber, I think you need one that doesn't have democratic legitimacy, frankly. Otherwise, you potentially get deadlock between the Commons and the Lords. But it is now far too large. I believe it is the second largest legislative assembly in the world after the Chinese Communist Party General Assembly or something. It's ludicrous. So here's my line on it. And you're right, Iain, over years or a generation, it's people shuffle off this mortal coil. I would prohibit anyone who has ever served in elected office from being appointed. I think you should be disbarred on those grounds. I might have an exception if you're a Privy Councillor, so for example a former Prime Minister or a former Foreign Secretary, but otherwise no, it doesn't go to members of Parliament who've unfortunately lost their seat and you feel that you owe them a consolation prize. That would then tilt us more towards these academics, philanthropists, journalists or whatever, and I think you need that independent thought. So it's impossible to get the politics out of it, but I think that rule would get the party politics out of it. Just a bar on anyone who's served as an MP or in any other elected office.
It's a great rule because all 5 of us on this panel would qualify.
There you go. We'll absolutely walk in, yeah.
Is it not a disgrace, though, that the party that is leading in the polls, Reform UK, has still not got a single peer in the House of Lords? The Green Party, I think, have got 3, but I mean they're doing quite well in the polls. I mean, there can be no justification for that, can there?
I mean, unfortunately not, no. I mean, if you are going to have another house that has to be represented, or all the political parties have to be represented, then you would need a member of the House of Lords that has been nominated by Reform.
Well, not just one. Farage would have a strong case if he does win the next election to say, to balance it all up, I need to create 300 Reform peers.
Now, Corey and Chris have given me information here. The Conservative Mayor of the Tees Valley, Lord Ben Houchin, has had a peerage for 3 years now. He's even been re-elected in the Tees Valley since he was first given his seat in the Lords. Also, one of the 3 new Conservative peers is General Patrick Sanders, the former professional head of the British Army. Well, I mean, is that a bad thing? I don't know. No, it's not a bad thing. They're saying it's a good thing. And the Green Party still only has 2 peers, Jenny Jones, who was on the programme this week, and Natalie Bennett. I mean, I think that is a bit of a scandal. Right, we're going to take another question in a minute, but let's go to an early break at 8:43.
Hear every side of the story. This is LBC.
Last night, I was watching an episode of Amadeus where Mozart
exploded, launched another Real Housewife during Shiv Roy's wedding night, where she asks Tom for an open
sandwich, Chicago beef filling, cooked by a chef in a pastel Regency gown. Oh, quite steamy.
Get Sky, Hey You, HBO Max, Disney Plus and Netflix together in one simple subscription. Go to sky.com.
Requires Sky Stream and Sky Ultimate TV subscription. Minimum broadband speed of 30 megabits per second recommended. 18 plus.
Oppa! Greek Week is back at Lidl. Pick up whole Calamon olives for $2.29 with Lidl Plus. Or tzatziki with extra virgin olive oil for just $1.49. With over 100 products, it's everything you love about Greece. Minus the airport queue. Lidl. More to value. 18 plus GB only while stocks last. Terms apply. See lidl.co.uk/LPTV. Offer ends 29th of July 26.
Take Irish ferries from Dover to Calais, where your pet travels in the pet lounge. You'd be barking not to. Irish ferries. See travel differently. When your daughter's wedding guest list is double-sided, enjoy every hand-clapping second of it. Be a step ahead with Barclays Premier, with our best savings rates. Barclays, backing your future. Eligibility criteria apply. T's and C's apply.
Take summer by storm with Kia. Introducing the new Kia Sportage Storm, a unique limited edition of the UK's favourite family SUV. Test drive the award-winning Kia Sportage today and order yours by the 31st of August to get 5.9% APR representative and up to £3,000 PCP finance deposit contribution. Search Kia Take Summer by Storm.
Kia. Movement that inspires.
T's and C's apply. Kia Finance. To verify, visit kia.com/UK/favourite.
Cross Question with Iain Dale on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
It's 8:45 on LBC. We have Mark Littlewood, Afia Hagan, Chris Webb and Anita Boateng with us in the studio. Ollie is in Bridgewater and says, is it a gross overreach of power for the government to ban 15-year-olds from buying a can of Red Bull because they're exactly what they're going... I don't understand that. Because they're exactly what they're going to do.
Maybe that's exactly.
Because that's exactly what they're going to do. Now, the Public Health Minister, Sharon Hodgson, has announced that children aged under 16 are set to be banned from buying drinks with more than 150 milligrams per litre of caffeine from next April. This ban will include energy drinks such as Red Bull, Monster, Relentless and Prime, but not drinks like Diet Coke or tea and coffee. I have heard of Red Bull.
I've heard of Monster.
Are you all consumers of all of these drinks?
No, I can't have caffeine.
Neither can I.
Really? You're the only other person apart from
I've had a lifetime, I've got to be careful how I say this, I had a lifetime addiction to Coca-Cola. I was just going to say Coke, but I thought I better not say that. To Coca-Cola, I was actually drinking 7-8 cans a day for 2 years. Yeah. Wow. And I stopped, not this Christmas Eve, the Christmas Eve before I stopped it. So energy drinks, I think they're so dangerous. And I think to build on the point the caller made, I think that, they're really unhealthy, they're really addictive, and I think you should also categorise things like vapes as well, because that is a pandemic and an epidemic across the country where literally every corner you turn one corner, it's a Turkish barber, you turn the other corner, it's a vape shop and an energy drink shop, and I think vapes are extremely dangerous and there's not enough information out there as our energy drinks.
What effect did drinking 7 or 8 cans of Coke a day have on you?
Made me very alert. It caused me all sorts of stomach problems. It caused me all sorts of issues health-wise, and it just obviously was just weight gain, and general health.
I was actually thinking you're looking quite lithe compared to what I remember you were a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so it's been good, and now I'm on the water with the odd hot chocolate.
And so you finished on Christmas Eve. Why?
Because I'd had. In the house was a pack of Coke, which was bought for Christmas, and it was glass bottles of Coke. They're the best tasting Coca-Cola. That's the only one I would consider going back to if I was ever going to break my hiatus. And there was a pack of 6, and I drunk 5 of them on Christmas Eve in a row over an evening. And I thought, what am I doing? And the only way I'm doing this is going cold turkey. So I opened the last bottle, poured it down the sink, and I haven't had one since.
Wow. Afia?
I can't have caffeine and haven't had caffeine in such a long time because I count myself as allergic to it. I think when it comes to these energy drinks, 15-year-olds, I have a 14-year-old daughter at home who stays away from them because she's heard so many horror stories about them. A lot of them, especially Prime, are aimed at that age group, are aimed at teenagers, which I think is completely wrong because they're so full of caffeine, sugar and everything else and really addictive. But your caller is absolutely right. Well, that's exactly what they're going to do. I think that's referring to banning the drinks, but 15-year-olds are going to buy them anyway. They're going to find a way around it. You just get someone to buy it for you. And I think as soon as you say you can't have that, it makes it more attractive to them. I think it's about not marketing these drinks at teenagers, which, like I said, Prime especially is absolutely aimed at teenagers. But I don't think they should be having them. Absolutely not.
Mark?
Well, I'm pretty libertarian on this sort of stuff, really. I mean, don't let your kids drink 10 cans of Red Bull a night or whatever, but a ban on it, I think, is inappropriate. And look, there are things in the world that are pleasant. I like a can of Coca-Cola or a bottle of it. I mean, I wouldn't drink 5 or 6 in a day. I like a cream donut. I like some greasy fast food. I like chocolate. Is there a problem that we have products that we know are not healthy for us, but are quite enjoyable? And indeed, most candy, most confectionery is aimed at children. A good amount of it is. You go down the tuck shop, you go down the sweet shop. Nobody's pretending that's good for you.
I think it's
not good for the
you're missing the point. No, the point is addictive. That's the point. So these drinks are designed so you have one and then you want 2, you want 3, and kids are having them on the way to school before they go into class. Kids are having them at lunch.
So
kids
is
are
that
having them
at some
after
level? That is, I mean, in that case, should adults be banned from having them?
Should we ban Pringles then? Because you cannot eat a few Pringles without finishing
completely
2,
right.
can you?
Yeah, completely right.
Definitely for barbecue ones.
You cannot stop without counselling.
Yeah, exactly right.
Adults mark the point. All of us have reached the age where we're seemingly responsible. We make our own choices. Children are not.
I mean, what I find weird in the world is that in virtually every aspect, we're prohibiting young people from doing things. We've, over recent years, increased the age at which you can buy tobacco from 16 to 18, for example, right? Enforcement of drinking alcohol in pubs is a lot stricter. I was drinking in pubs when I was 15, no problem at all. So we keep sort of saying that these youngsters are fragile and vulnerable and aren't capable of making these choices, but we want to lower the voting age to 16. So they're able to pronounce on macroeconomic policy and what the regulatory framework of the United Kingdom can be, but they can't actually look it up on social media because we're going to ban them from doing that, and they're not capable of working out whether they can drink a can of Coke or eat a cream cake, apparently.
That's a good point, Anita.
My take is that there is a lot that is that you have to learn in the world, and one of them is moderation. And I do think that I can't say I'm an expert on energy drinks; it's not really my thing. But I think that there's so much about the world that is really challenging, and I think that there's so much complex work that's going to be done, whether they're 15 or 17 or 18, to learn how to moderate consumption of all sorts of things in the world. And that's probably where my instinct would lie.
Right, let's move on to another question. Let's go, it's from Thomas, who says, does the CPAC UK conference prove there's an appetite for Trumpism in the UK? Well, Mark Littlewood, you've been at this conference. Just tell us, I mean, is it similar to CPAC US? I've been to that a couple of times many years ago, and it's, shall we say, one of the more bizarre experiences of my life.
Yeah, no, well, I haven't been to CPAC US, but I have been at the inaugural CPAC Great Britain, CPAC GB, as they're calling it. I don't know what Northern Ireland have done to offend CPAC. No, I would say, I mean, the logo and the branding is identical, but it has the format of a pretty standard British conference, mixed in with a bit of a rally, I suppose, but not quite all of the glitz and glamour and fireworks that you'd expect in America, a sprinkling of it. And I found it quite interesting because I think there's beginning to be a kind of intellectual agreement gathering on the right, whether you are conservative or reform or restore or somewhere between the 2 or the 3 or independent but on the right. There's increasingly, I think, a common agenda between those on the right. It doesn't include everybody who would have perhaps thought of themselves as being on the right 10 or 20 years ago. And I think you need conferences like this to explore it. The only way I think you will get a right-of-centre government after the next election, which I very much hope we get, is if there is a communality of purpose and policy agreed by the parties on the right. And I think initiatives like this, it's a conference, but it's hoping to spawn a movement.
So who were the main speakers?
Jacob Rees-Mogg, Suella Braverman, David Starkey, Nigel Farage is speaking, Liz Truss, Ian Duncan Smith, to name but a few, Stephen Barrett, the barrister, so it's not all politicians. And its themes are around sovereignty and liberty, basically. And it seems to me that the right of politics is beginning to coalesce around that, actually, irrespective of the precise shade of blue that you wear in your
Lucy
rosette.
Connolly as well, I guess.
That's right, yes, yeah.
I mean, you used to be a Liberal Democrat. You've been on a bit of a journey.
Everybody says that. To some degree, yes. I changed my mind about the EU. I quite like the concept of the EU in terms of it lowering trade barriers and facilitating trade. But I think it did become more and more bureaucratic and a kind of regulatory centralised state. I probably have become somewhat more conservative about immigration. Not radically so, but somewhat more conservative. I'm concerned that, well, I'm listening to Milton Friedman's warning that you can have a welfare state or open borders, but you cannot have both. I think we're proving him right. But I would say, I don't know what the other panellists would think of this, or you, Iain. I think the country has got massively more left-wing over the past 15 or 20 years. Public spending has gone through the roof. Taxes have gone through the roof. We are borrowing like there's no tomorrow. The debt is totally unsustainable. We're indulging all sorts of curious fantasies like net zero. So I think if you sort of stood your ground on the centre or centre-right, you would now be considered on the far right.
I mean, wow.
You want to buy a ticket for tomorrow, don't you?
I saw the images. The crowd seemed to have come dressed as empty seats in a fancy dress. And I also saw Liz Truss's interview where Liz Truss said Keir Starmer is the worst Prime Minister in British history. I think Liz Truss forgot who Liz Truss was at that moment, didn't she? I mean, the absolute gall of the people who have caused this situation in this country, with thousands of people living on the streets, millions of people living in poverty, millions of people in in-work poverty, infrastructure on its backside, NHS on its knees, to be saying, let's all of us who have caused that have a chat about how we put that right. I mean,
we disagree. I think you and I could have a sincere disagreement about what caused it. You think it's presumably been caused by capitalism. I think it's been caused by a ravenous state that is spending money extremely inefficiently. State spending has gone up. It went up under the Conservatives. Borrowing has gone up. It went up under the Conservatives.
Poverty's gone up. Homelessness has gone up.
So all of this high state spending, regulating everything,
so where's the money going, Mark?
Jacking up.
Where's the money? So,
as Ronnie Reagan was fond of saying of the US welfare state, if you look at the amount of money being spent, it's unbelievable. Just transfer payments in this country, I think, come to about £14,000 per household per year.
There's a lot of words there, Mark. There's a lot of words there.
Well, somewhere there must be some
living on the street in this country.
So the welfare state has failed.
Going to school without being fed in this country.
We're spending
the transport infrastructure is on its backside in this country. The NHS is on its backside.
We're spending more than ever before on these things. So state spending isn't the solution, is it?
Is it true, as Lee in Frankfurt is saying, that fewer than 200 people were there?
Oh, no, definitely not. I mean, even for my session, there was many more than 200 people in the room, and I don't think I was a headliner, right? So,
Anita, now, you are sort of, shall we say, on the moderate side of the Conservative wing of politics. Well, that's how I've always seen you. What do you make of this?
I don't think this proves there's an appetite for Trumpism in the UK. I think that I always get a bit frustrated that we try to transpose American politics over to the UK. I think we're fundamentally a very different country that happens to speak the same language. I think our culture is very, very different. And I'm not sure that it really makes sense to think about Trumpism in the UK. And I don't think that would be a good thing for our political system. I'm always in favour of more political debate, and that's a really important thing. Honestly, I didn't see any of the conference, so I can't say anything about the specifics. But I don't think that we are America, and I think it actually harms our politics when we start to think that we are.
I mean, the interesting thing is this, isn't it? That we too readily, I think, compare ourselves, I agree with you, to America. But really, right across the democratic West, there is a rise of right-wing populism. Its form in America is Trump. Its form here is perhaps Reform. You've got Maloney. You've got Le Pen, although she has quite leftist economic views. Right across the Western world, the right in particular is changing quite radically and is becoming an anti-status quo, we must change movement. Okay. Whereas 20 or 30 years ago, it would have been a pro-status quo movement.
We haven't heard from Afia yet.
I think in terms of is there an appetite for Trumpism, I don't think so. I think this is really about, do British Conservatives, and I mean, with a small c rather than a big C, know who they are and what they want. Because I mean, like 10 years ago, when we talked about conservatism, we weren't really using the words like cancel culture and, woke and all this kind of stuff. That's more like of a recent import. And I think probably that has to do with that American influence. I agree with you, Anita, that I don't think that works here. I don't think we should look at conservatism with a small c through the eyes of Donald Trump. And it absolutely would not be great for our country if we did.
Right, let's move on to the fun question, which I can assure you I did not write. Simon did. He says, I'm sure Iain won't mind me mentioning that his autobiography, Have I Said Too Much, has just been published. So if you were writing your life story, what would the title be? Chris?
I just see Simon's name. His surname says Dale on there. I think I'd go really simple. It'd be left-winger, because it would cover my politics, my trade unionism, and my love of Plymouth Argyle.
Well, there you go. Afia?
Maybe something like Beyond the Headlines or something cheesy like that. Yeah.
I don't think that'd get the punters in.
No? Damn it. Come back to me again.
I'm going to buy it.
Thank you.
Well, Iain, you were telling me about the example that you might have chosen. So give me one of those and I'll go with that. Go on, Iain.
Well, the original one was A Dish Served Cold,
Well,
but
there we
it's
go.
not that kind of book. And then it was going to be Shooting from the Lip, but I changed my mind at the last minute.
I think I'd like a cold dish. I think I could serve one. So there we go.
Okay, Mark?
Well, I'm a slow writer, so I'm 54 at the moment. Let's imagine I complete my autobiography when I'm 60, so I've got 6 years to write it. I think my ideal title would be How 6 Decades of Pain and Suffering Ended in Unalloyed Triumph.
That wouldn't fit on the cover.
No, you're right. No, it's basically a chapter of it.
Right.
Isn't it?
Okay, thank you all very much indeed. Now, on Monday's panel, the day that Andy Burnham will become this country's new Prime Minister includes the former Labour Scotland Secretary Jim Murphy, who served in the Cabinet alongside a certain Mr Burnham, plus the former Conservative Transport Secretary Lord Mark Harper. Right, coming up in the next hour, the UK government has said the World Cup might not be ours, but the Falkland Islands definitely are, after Argentina players celebrated their victory over England by waving a banner in support of their country's territorial claim. Speaking after England's 2-1 semi-final defeat in Atlanta, Downing Street said Sir Keir Starmer wished both Argentina and Spain well for the final, especially Spain. I like that. He seems to be liberated since he knows who's good. Anyway, the question is, do you want the government to do more than issue angry statements in response to what happened last night? Or do you think this is just a little bit much? 0345 6060 973.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom, football's governing body says it's assessing match reports before deciding on potential further steps against Argentina's players. It's after a banner claiming the Falkland Islands belong to the South Americans was displayed after their 2-1 victory over England in the semi-final of the World Cup. FIFA says it's considering the relevant circumstances based on its disciplinary code. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has given her reaction to the game and Argentina's display.
It was a great game watching our players, but very painful to watch. I have a 9-year-old boy who's utterly bereft at the loss, winning for so long only to lose at the end. But winning a football match, I would say to Argentinians, does not mean you can have the Falklands. So hands off.
The US has confirmed it's begun a new wave of strikes on Iran for a 5th consecutive night. American officials say it's to further degrade Iranian military capabilities. US attacks have often been followed by retaliatory strikes from Iran on targets across the Gulf. Nominations have closed this evening in the Labour leadership contest, with Andy Burnham the only candidate. In his first speech as Labour leader tomorrow, he'll set out a vision for a renewed Labour government focused on driving growth in every postcode and returning power to communities. He's expected to be confirmed as Prime Minister on Monday. Lord David Blunkett, former Home Secretary, told LBC he hasn't a clue who will be in Burnham's cabinet.
Anybody who thinks my fingerprints are on this needs to get a guide dog. He's got his own team, he's got his own ideas, he's his own man. I think there will be changes. They won't be dramatically disruptive because he knows that the business of government, the experience of those over the last 2 years will be important. But he will bring in people who he knows share his views, share his values.
The government's been advised to roll out a meningitis B vaccine on the NHS in England for those who weren't given one as a baby. Experts are also saying those who did should get a booster at 15. And Sir Sadiq Khan has been handed a peerage along with 25 other new members of the House of Lords. Sir Keir Starmer's chosen 16 of them ahead of his resignation. In the city, the FTSE 100 has closed up 56 points at 10,572. The pound buys $1.34 and €1.17. LBC weather. Dry tonight in the south and west with some clear spells. Elsewhere turning largely cloudy from the northeast, a low of 9 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Daryl Jackson.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Iain Dale.
9:04 is the time on LBC. Welcome to the programme if you've just joined us. It's Iain Dale here with you until 10. The Falkland Islands. The Falklands War was a formative experience for me. It happened when I was 19 years old. And as we talked about, I think, on the programme, was it earlier this week? Or I think, well, yes, it was. It was on Monday, I think. I told you about when I was at university. I was told that somebody, to look at the newspapers, and somebody with my name was killed in the Falklands War. And it had a really quite a profound effect on me. And so I've always taken an interest in the Falklands ever since. I'd love to go to the Falklands. I really would. I've never managed to do so, but there is still time. And it was one of those events that I think really caught the imagination of the British people at the time. All political parties were united in that the Argentinian invaders had to be driven out of the Falklands. It was a matter of sovereignty. The Falkland Islanders have always wanted to stay as a British territory. There was a referendum in 2013 that I think 99.8%, a sort of North Korean total, voted to stay under British control. I think 3 people actually voted to join with Argentina. So if you believe in self-determination, you cannot possibly believe that the sovereignty of the Falkland Islands should be given away, negotiated away, or taken by Argentina. And yet there is still this feeling that that the Argentinians have a really valid claim to the Falklands. Now, as Mark Littlewood, I think, said in Cross Question, it is quite difficult when the government has decided to effectively give away the Chagos Islands. What's the position on the Falklands? The same arguments that they use about the Chagos Islands could surely be used about the Falklands. Now, I don't think we should be giving the Chagos Islands away. I think it's an absolute scandal what the Starmer government have planned to do there. Donald Trump's put a spanner in the works, but it appears that Andy Burnham agrees with this policy. I do not understand it. Why would you give away sovereignty over a hugely important island in that area of the world? I don't get it. Now, obviously, when England play Argentina in any sporting match, or particularly football, it comes up. And incendiary things are said, sometimes by the Argentinian government. I think, to be fair to the Argentinian government, they haven't been as incendiary as they have been in the past. Their foreign minister made a few comments the other day. But what happened last night, I think, did take it to a new level, where after the Argentinian victory over England, the players unfurled a banner effectively saying that the Falklands should return to Argentinian control. I say return, it's never actually been under Argentinian control. So the British government have reacted today. And I mean, in quite an amusing way in some ways. Keir Starmer says, well, the World Cup might not be ours, but the Falkland Islands definitely are. And Downing Street said Sir Keir Starmer wished both Argentina and Spain well for the final, especially Spain, which I actually do think is quite funny. Well, this morning, my LBC colleague Tom Swarbrick, who's in for Nick Ferrari at breakfast all this week, spoke with Cabinet Minister Peter Kyle and asked him what he made of the banner being displayed.
Well, certainly one of the central tenets of the World Cup is that politics is kept separate. What they did was entirely inappropriate. It was, of course, offensive to us, and I suspect lots of other people around the world who just wanted to watch the football. But that's now a matter for FIFA. It was an undignified...
Do you trust that this is an organisation that's going to follow through on the rules that they've put down, Secretary of State?
Well, they must. They must. I believe that they've said that there will be an investigation into it, but there must be an investigation into it. And let me pay tribute to our footballers. They have shown dignity, perseverance, and real professionalism and skill all the way through this. They have done us proud in the way they played football, but also representing the values of England through this World Cup. That is something which is in stark contrast to what we saw last night, and it made me ever more proud of our team. Of course, I was completely gutted that they didn't win and take us through to the final step. But my pride in them is certainly maintained and even increased in the face of what they are up against.
So, Peter Carr there being quite robust. Do you want the government to do more than issue angry statements in response to what happened last night, or do you think this is just a bit of a fuss about nothing? 0345 6060 973. Suki Cameron joins me, former representative to the UK of the Falkland Islands Government, now a trustee of the Falkland Islands Memorial Chapel at Pangbourne College in Berkshire. Suki, welcome to the programme again. Thank you for joining us. Is this a fuss about nothing?
No, it's not really, because it is against the rules of FIFA. And, they either have rules or they don't have rules. And if they have rules that are broken, then action should be taken. And the Argentines, I'm afraid, do it again and again. I think they were fined in 2014 £20,000 for doing exactly the same thing. So they really should abide by the rules. So it's not a fuss about nothing. Action should be taken. But I have to say we're very grateful for the reaction, especially from Parliament today, in support of the islands.
Isn't it sometimes better to just ignore this sort of thing and just turn the other cheek, and it will go away in the end?
Well, sadly, I don't think it will go away. But yes, we do ignore it most of the time because we get it 365 days of the year practically in the islands, because there's always one thing or another where they're reacting against us and trying to stake their claim. So most of the time we do try and ignore it. But I think when it's done so publicly in an arena that is nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with the Falklands, to make such a blatant statement there, I think needs to be addressed.
Do you think that in the next 10 years it is a possibility that Argentina do try to do it again and try to take the Falklands militarily? Or is the garrison on the Falklands strong enough now to repel any such idea that the Argentinians could do this? Because I'm told that the Argentinian armed forces are in an even worse state than ours.
Well, we certainly believe, and we're very grateful for the garrison on the islands, and we do believe that should there be any military action against the islands, they would be able to repel it. However, as you say, I don't think Argentina have actually the will or indeed the might to be able to do it. And hopefully we can just reach a point, and you say in 10 years' time, where we can just live as neighbours and, have cooperation with them, have links with Argentina. But while they still maintain their claim, it's such a high level, I don't think it'll be possible.
Isn't it part of their constitution that they have to, any Argentinian president has to keep the claim alive?
Yes, sadly it is, but constitutions can change, and hopefully the will of the people might change as we go on, because, we're nearly 45 years on from the war. And, we had hoped to be in a better place with them now, but, every time they keep raising it.
But there have been better relations with Argentina sort of over the last few years, haven't there? I think, didn't the Argentinian president come here fairly recently?
I think he was due to come, but he didn't, as far as I'm aware, unless it was a very quiet visit.
No, like you, I thought he was coming, but I don't actually remember him being here.
But as far as I'm aware, he wasn't. We have had better relations with some governments and others, and we have made progress, things like air links and things, but then another government comes in and tears up the former agreement of the former government. So over things like fisheries and flights and even oil exploration, we have been in a place where we've had quite good relations and discussions with them. But then, as I say, the next government comes in and tears the agreements up.
And is that because a government in economic trouble, one way to get themselves to be a bit more popular with the people is to issue sort of blood-curdling threats about the Falklands, and it goes down well with the electorate?
Well, that's what happened in '82. They're in such dire straits that by the invasion, they hoped that they would deflect the economic woes by winning the Falkland Islands, which, of course, luckily for us, they didn't.
How have the Falklands changed since the invasion? I mean, I think then there were about, 1,500 people on the Falklands. I mean, that population has increased. I don't know whether it's just due to the fact that we have so many armed service personnel there. But how have the Falklands changed since the war?
No, the civilian population is now around 3,500. It's changed hugely, mainly due to the fact that we're economically self-sufficient due to the fishery around the islands. And we have a lot more, independent growth in the islands. We have a lot more people, a lot more immigration coming into the islands. And it really is quite a bustling place now from the rather sleepy view of it people might have got in 1982.
And tourism is quite important as well. Cruise ships now stop in Stanley.
Yes, we get a lot of cruise ship visitors a year. And, on some days they can certainly outnumber the population. And it's great because it gives particularly the farmers an added income when they're out to see the penguins and get a taste of the way of life in the islands. So, yeah, we're very pleased with the growing number of cruise ships that come to the islands.
And what do you think the future holds? I mean, there apparently there's a lot of oil around the islands. I mean, how is that being exploited?
Well, they are still looking for oil reserves around the islands. The indications are good that there is oil there, and it would give us an extra income stream if it were. But we're still a bit of a way off that yet, but we are making sure that obviously the most important thing is our environment, making sure that's protected. And so we have got everything in place should oil drilling go ahead, but it will be a few years down the road yet, I believe.
Suki, thank you very much indeed. That's Suki Cameron. Actually, just before... Oh, no, she's gone now.
No, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't got... have you gone? Or no, you're still there. No, I was going to ask you a question and it went out of my mind, but it's come back in my mind now. This is what happens when you turn 64, Suki. When you heard what the Labour government was planning to do with the Chagos Islands, take yourself back to the days when you were running the Falkland Islands office in London and you were a very effective lobbyist to successive governments. I mean, how would you have approached that? Because obviously there are implications for the Falklands, aren't there, through this? I mean, I know it's they're not exactly the same in terms of constitutional status, but it must worry you.
Yes, it is worrying because it is changing the status of an overseas territory and giving it to a country that, as far as I know, never had a claim over. I don't think Mauritius ever had a claim over the Chagos Islands. And so I think it is worrying. And like you said earlier, I have no clue why they're doing it. I cannot understand the reason for doing it. Why would you give something that you own away and then pay how many millions of pounds a year to rent it back? I just don't understand it. And it is worrying for the whole of the overseas territory family that one of our members should be treated in this way. And I just don't understand it, I'm afraid.
Suki, thank you very much indeed. That's Suki Cameron, their former representative to the UK of the Falkland Islands government. So, if you were watching the match last night, it means you weren't listening to my programme, so shame on you. I do understand, though. You can have a pass on this occasion. I wonder whether you sort of think that this whole rhetoric over the Falklands is just so over the top, and does it really matter if the Argentinian players unfurl a flag? Yes, it is against FIFA rules, but it doesn't mean that the British government should in any way weaken its stance. And to be fair to Keir Starmer and his colleagues, they've been very robust in saying that the Falkland Islands are British and they will remain British. Is this a fuss about nothing, or do you want the government to do more than issue angry statements in response to what happened last night? 0345 6060 973. I mean, we don't do football phone-ins on this programme, but if we did, I would now be talking to you about the disgusting, dirty nature of the Argentinian players in the match last night. Because, I think they did take it to the extreme. And they had a referee who I'm pretty sure was under instructions. No, I better not say this because I might libel him, but you know what I mean, don't you? It's 18 minutes past 9.
This is LBC.
Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. And come on in to Classic FM Calm, LBC's soothing sister station. Find peace in the music with Classic FM Calm. Listen on Global Player or ask your smart speaker to play Classic FM Calm.
You think a football coach just teaches how to kick a ball?
Nah, a football coach gives you the skills to win in life.
I stay focused for 90 minutes. So a 60-minute exam is no sweat.
Job interviews don't scare me. I'm up against 11 players every week.
And I'm not just captaining a team. I'm prepping for when I'm running my own company.
A coach's influence goes beyond the pitch. That's why Chase Bank has funded over 6,000 grassroots coaching qualifications. Search Chase.
Imagine sweeping through green fields, floating 5 feet above ground, sun on your face as you slide by on track to your destination. Not a care in the world as you simply lean back. And before you know it, you're there. This is how travel should feel. And on our trains, it does. Avanti West Coast. Feel good travel.
When you're smiling. Banning Dental Group clinics with over 5,000 top-rated Google reviews. Keep on smiling.
At McDonald's, feeding the little ones just got easier with a Happy Meal for just $2.99 on the app. That's long journey stop-offs and movie night feast sorted. Just a little spend for some big smiles. Some fun, some food, it's all inside this Happy Meal. Until the 1st of September from 11 a.m. Only on the app, not on delivery. 1 use per day. A maximum of 4 Happy Meals per redemption. Price may vary.
Iain Dale on LBC.
20 past 9 on LBC. We're talking about this little diplomatic spat between Argentina and the United... Well, not really the United Kingdom. Well, I suppose it is it? Isn't it? Even though the match was against England, the sovereignty of the Falklands is owned by the whole of the United Kingdom. So one of the interesting little side notes here is that you never seem to get all of this stuff with Argentinian rugby players, do you? But of course, in a complete coincidence, the England rugby union team are playing against Argentina in Santiago del Estero in northern Argentina this Saturday. One of the England rugby players, Henry Pollock, was caught on camera making dismissive gestures towards Argentina fans on the streets of Buenos Aires before last night's football match. Now, I don't do rugby, nor does Chris, my producer, but I might watch this one. Actually, what am I doing on Saturday? No, I can't. But anyway, I just give you that as a little side note there. Do you think that all of the rhetoric here it's all a bit old-fashioned, and that maybe the best thing to do would have been to turn the other cheek and not react to the provocation from this flag being waved in the stadium last night? Or do you think, no, that FIFA have rules, they should be implemented, but I can almost bet you that they won't be. Umar is in Birmingham. Umar, hi.
Hi, Ian. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. What would you like to say?
So, Ian, as somebody whose family has fought in numerous wars and fought for this country and bled for this country, I was so angry yesterday that flag was unfurled. That is our sovereign land. It's our country. It's part of our country. And I just feel that there were players there who play in the Premier League, who ply their trade in our country, who take advantage of earning money from our country. And by the way, I'm a Liverpool supporter. There's a player on there, McAllister. I feel that none of those players should be allowed to come back and earn their trade in this country. It was totally against the national interest. You know, we have this thing where we say anybody who does anything against the national interest of this country should either be deported or anything like that. Are you telling me, honestly, those players are going to sit there and talk about our sovereign land, about how they're going to take our sovereign land by force from us, and then come over here and earn their keep over here, earn and feed their families and send money back to Argentina after that? No chance. It should never happen. FIFA isn't going to do anything. And if FIFA is not going to do anything, we have to take a stand. I'm fed up of this country being puppy dogs in front of everyone and turning the other cheek and being, you know, diplomatic. No, I'm fed up of it. Those folks in the Falkland Islands live with the threat of that country invading them every day. We have to show that we've got their back. And if we don't, shame on us.
Well, you know that won't happen. There is no way that the government is going to try and ban Argentinian football players from this country. I mean, we can't even deport a child sort of groomer to Pakistan. So there's no way that they're going to do. I mean, I nicked that from David on a text, by the way. There's no way that they're going to do that. I mean, I hear the sentiment. I sort of kind of agree. But I tell you what, when Mr. McAllister goes to the Hill Dickinson Stadium next season and plays for Liverpool against Everton, I would encourage the Everton fans to tell him exactly what they think of him in the way that football fans, that only football fans can. Wouldn't that be a bigger punishment? No, it wouldn't. And when you say that we shouldn't, and I understand it probably won't happen, not that it shouldn't, sorry, I beg your pardon. You know, footballers nowadays, they do have thick skin. There are lots of things that are said on the terraces that, you know, they just ignore. That's not going to make an iota of difference, right? However, I'm only talking about those players that were on that pitch at that time supporting that flag. I'm not talking about all Argentinian footballers. I'm just talking about those few that play in the Premier League. Could you imagine the message it sends out? And I'll tell you something else, right? I'm not the greatest fan of Donald Trump or his policies or anything like that happens. But I can almost guarantee you that if that same thing had happened, well, not even in America, let's reverse it. If there were English players who were playing for Boca Juniors in Argentina, and they stood on that pitch with a flag saying, we support the Falkland Islands, and Argentina can do one, right? Do you think they would be allowed to carry on playing for Boca Juniors? Absolutely no chance on this planet Earth. No chance. So what you're saying is we've gone soft? Oh, soft. We're jelly. We are jelly, honestly. Take a stand. About 4 or 5 players. At least sanction them. But put the frighteners on them. Show the Argentinians. Are you telling me Argentina's a bigger country than us, and we're going to sit there and take that? Come on, no. Well, perhaps we should just was behind that team, a team full of people who were immigrants, who came from immigrant families. Right, the whole country. Let's have some pride. We had pride to support that team. Let's have some pride for those folks in the Falkland Islands who have to live under the threat of Argentina every day. And by the way, living in the Falkland Islands is not easy without that even. It's very difficult for the farmers out there to earn a living and scrape a living. And, there's a lot of things that happen in the Falkland Islands because of the loneliness and all of that affects those guys. We need to be there for those guys. Well, it's you're putting a very strong case here. I think this is another one of those heart versus head things. I mean, I think you've expressed a logical position, absolutely, but I think it becomes more from your heart than your head, and you know it's not going to happen. So if we deal with the real world, I mean, what do you think that there should be more rhetoric? Because we're not going to get Argentinian players banned from this country. I wouldn't want to see them banned. I mean, there are some fantastic Argentinian footballers that ply their trade here. I remember Manuel Lanzini playing for West Ham, one of the best players I've seen in the last 10 or 15 years. Really skillful and a lovely guy.
Yeah, we've had the likes of Ozzy Ardiles, absolutely fantastic fella, very nice guy. And this isn't pointed towards all Argentinian players, but it's certainly, in my mind, those Argentinian players who live and earn a living from this country, who stood with that flag at that time, those 4, 5, 6, however many there are, it's against those guys. Not the rest of them, just those guys. However, I hear what you're saying. It's probably not going to happen, and fine, it won't. I would like to see something happen. Maybe that maybe the Premier League can ask them to make some kind of apology, although I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know. But we need to be doing something, Ian. We can't just sit there and take it. Like I said, my family's fought for this country, right? And I know there are military families out there whose forefathers and so on have died in the Falklands War. Can you imagine what they're feeling after seeing that last night? Come on, are we really going to sit there and take that and just give a little bit of, a little bit of a joke and say, we wish Spain the best in the final? I'm sorry, it's just not good enough. We need to be a little bit more hardline, and we need to sit there and make sure that no other country can look at us and point a finger and try and bully us. Because if we can get bullied by Argentina, can you imagine what the likes of Russia are going to do to us?
Well, you see, that was the thing in 1982, in that, yes, it was important to get the Falklands back, but it did send a dramatic signal to the Soviet Union that Britain would not be a pushover any longer. And that was certainly noted in Moscow, well, more than noted in Moscow. Umar, thank you very much indeed. Rico says, there's nothing more quintessentially English than a good loser, and you are nothing like a good loser. And then he's got a bit in Spanish, which I'm not going to read because I can guess what the meaning is. Look, I make no complaint about losing a football match. I think the tactics that we deployed last night after the goal were completely wrong, and we did deserve to lose. So I have no complaint about the result of the match. I kind of thought when the equaliser went in, I kind of saw the writing on the wall at that point. So I'm not arguing about that. I do think that they deployed dirty tactics, but we've seen that from Argentinian teams over the years. They are brilliant footballers, but sometimes they play dirty in a way that I think most English national teams would not do. So it's not me being a bad loser in any shape or form, Rico. Right, it's 9:30 on LBC. We'll come to more of your calls in a moment. But first, the news headlines with Daryl Jackson.
Football's governing body says it's assessing match reports before deciding on potential further steps against Argentina's players. A banner claiming the Falkland Islands belonged to the South Americans was displayed after their 2-1 victory over England in the semi-final of the World Cup. Nominations have closed this evening in the Labour leadership contest, with Andy Burnham the only candidate. In his first speech as Labour leader tomorrow, he'll set out a vision for a renewed Labour government before being confirmed as Prime Minister on Monday. And legislation's being introduced to ban the sale of high caffeine energy drinks to under-16s in England. It'll apply to drinks containing more than 150 milligrams of caffeine per litre from April. LBC weather, dry tonight in the south and west with some clear spells. Elsewhere, turning largely cloudy from the northeast, a low of 9 degrees.
This is LBC.
Want a simple way to earn a fixed monthly income? At ULEZ Prosperity, you buy a ULEZ compliant vehicle from us, rent it back to us for a fixed monthly income, and at the end of the term, we buy it back from you at a fixed agreed price. We manage the vehicle, driver and operations. You simply receive the monthly income. Buy, rent, sell. It's that simple. Get conditions at ulezprosperity.com. Earn a steady monthly income at ulezprosperity.com.
Don't miss the fight before the fight. Anthony Joshua must survive the here and now.
Huge risk! I'm back. July 25th, Joshua versus Prenga, live exclusively on DAZN.
Oppa! Greek Week is back at Lidl. Pick up whole Calamon olives for $2.29 with Lidl Plus. Or tzatziki with extra virgin olive oil for just $1.49. With over 100 products, it's everything you love about Greece. Minus the airport queue. Lidl. More to value. 18 plus duty only while stocks last. Terms apply. See lidl.co.uk/LPTV. Offer ends 29th of July 26.
Vodafone is backing the UK with an £11 billion investment to make the nation's biggest network even better.
Fair play. That's a big commitment.
So you can launch that business.
So I can start selling my model trains in Pwllheli.
Multitask in a haze of glory.
I could stream Wimbledon whilst on a video call.
Start doing more of what you love from more places. Opportunity awaits. Switch to Vodafone today on the Nations Network.
Nations Network means UK's biggest network through Vodafone 3 merger based on mobile sites versus major providers. Network improvements by 2034. See vodafone.co.uk/TNN. Subject to coverage.
This is LBC with Iain Dale. Call 0345 6060 973.
9:33. Umar was mentioning the Liverpool player McAllister, who's it doesn't sound very Argentinian, but he's obviously got Scottish ancestry, and he's a leading player for Argentina. Nearly scored last night. Did he hit the post or the bar or something? Well, I mean, I've just spent the last 2 minutes just imagining Mr. McAllister being loaded onto a plane after being deported because of what's happened. I'm sure it could never happen, could it? Or could it? And we will be replaying that throughout the next 25 minutes, should anyone call in with a very patriotic call. Let's see if Carl in Darlington merits that being played. Hello, Carl.
Hi, Ian. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. What would you like to say?
Yeah, so I was 2 in 1982. So the kind of cultural and historical significance of that war kind of passed me by. So I was always quite neutral on the whole situation. But, you know, you got no right to invade another country, obviously, but it didn't have the significance, the patriotic sort of vibe from my point of view.
Well, I think if you weren't alive at that point, I completely understand that. Yeah. I mean, I was, as I say, 19 when it happened, and it was a huge event for our country at the time.
Absolutely, and my recollection really was more seeing the likes of Simon Weston all over the TV when I was a child and stuff like that. So that was my connection with it. But the point I was getting at really was, I think the question was, should the government do more about it? And beyond rhetoric, I don't really see what else they can do. And I think for once, I can say the government have probably done enough on this situation, not because they're wrong, but realistically, what else can be done?
Well, let me make a suggestion. They could make a gesture and say, OK, we're going to send 500 more troops to the Falklands to permanently station them there. We're going to send another 4 fighter planes to the Falklands. I mean, that would put it up, and wouldn't it?
It would do, yeah. But would it be proportionate to somebody making a silly statement?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. I'm not suggesting that we should do that, but I mean, if they wanted to make a statement, that's what they should. That's what they could do. So let me make clear: I'm not advocating that. I don't want to ramp this up any more than it has to be.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes down to you and what army on both sides at that point, and then it just gets a bit silly. But what I wanted to say really was, I had no view on Argentina as such. I was quite neutral on the whole thing. And 2 things, really. First of all, I thought they really did play very dirty yesterday. And then to do that at the end really was, for me, a stain on the character of the country. It really does taint my view of the country. That was kind of... I've been very neutral on this, but I'm not as neutral on it anymore. And I'm not a huge football fan, but I think most of the world on the weekend will be supporting Spain. And I think that's the best thing, is to get behind Spain in the final and hope they win. That's what I would suggest at this point, really.
I'm debating whether you deserve a Rule Britannia now. Do you think you do? Do you think you deserve one?
Why not? Why
go
not?
on.
I have one more thing for you before you do that.
Okay, go on.
So I've ordered your book, so thank you for
fantastic.
arranging that.
You could get 2 berths of Rule Britannia for that. on, Carl.
Yeah, and what I was going to say to you was, in the book, and I'm looking forward to receiving it, do you talk about the strangest things people were doing whilst they were talking to you on a call? That sounds very dodgy, but...
oh, my God. I'm now dreading what you're about to tell me.
Well, this will freak out you and probably some of your listeners, but I have pet rats, and at the moment I have 2 of them climbing on my shoulder. So, yeah, anyway, that's random, but that's... So, on for your next...
Oh, my God, that is disgusting.
Well, they're not Argentinian, so we'll let them off.
Well, of course, that is what. No, he didn't call them rats, did he? Alf Ramsey, the England manager in 1966, after the quarter-final, where the Argentinians had a player sent off. No, it was Mr. Ratin, wasn't it? That was the point I was going to make. Yeah, so a very appropriate call, Carl.
Yeah,
sort of.
That, Ian, happy birthday, and I shall let you go to your next caller.
You are very kind, Carl. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Patrick in Southampton. Hello, Patrick.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thank you. What would you like to say?
Yeah, good. I don't know if you're going to play a Rule Britannia for me, unfortunately.
Well, okay. Well, go on. I don't promise it to play it for everyone. But okay, hit us with it.
Let's see how it goes. Look, I just think this thing, first of all, I feel there's a very big overreaction to it. I think it's conflated very much with the result of the match, the result in the match last night. What I'm hearing quite a lot, and I get this, which is people are saying the people of the Falkland Islands, believe that they're British, and that's fair enough, okay, and I get that. However, Britain has colonised, over 60 countries around the globe. One of them being my country, Ireland. We know about the history of that, and it's just interesting that people are not going. Well, what was the thoughts of the people of Ireland at that time, feeling that they should be Irish, and therefore, we should respect that nationhood, and others, other countries around the world. And I get this is very, very...
There's a difference, though, isn't there? In that nobody was living on the Falklands. I mean, it's never been populated by Argentina. Argentina, as a state, started in, I think I'm right in saying 1816. And there were no people on the Falklands. And, I mean, it had been owned by Spain at one point, by France at one point, I think I'm right in saying. And then we came along in 1833. But it wasn't that we were displacing sort of people that originally lived there. There is a bit of a difference.
No, I understand the argument around the Falkland Islands and the fact that, the people weren't in Argentina at the time. What I suppose I'm arguing is that in terms of the entire, global aspect in relation to colonization and people feeling like, why are people so aggrieved for the people of the Falkland Islands and not thinking of all the countries around the world, that Britain did colonize, with the same argument in that going, well, if the people feel that they're not British, if they feel that they are Canadian, if they feel that they're Pakistani, Bangladesh, Sri Lankan, then why are we not letting those people, in terms of history, have their country back? They
have all got their country back because...
No, they have now. But what I'm saying is people get really... It feels like people are getting really exercised about the Falkland Islands. And I think part of it is in relation to the match last night. If the result was a different way. But I think it's a bit rich that people are saying that, if you're from a country and you feel you're from that nationhood, then you should be that. Where at the same time, Britain has colonised, well over 60 countries around the world.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right on that. But I mean, that's kind of looking back. We are where we are. We're talking about the world as it is today, where the Falkland Islanders want to remain British. And if you believe in self-determination, which I'm sure you do, then surely that's the end of the argument.
No, I get the argument that you're saying. I just feel people get very exercised in, it feels to me like a very one-dimensional kind of passion around a British story as opposed to a global story.
Well, you're right. It is a result of the football. And I mean, to coin a phrase, we didn't start it. I mean, well, it wasn't us that was looking for a row. The Argentinians did sort of unfurled this flag. They've disobeyed FIFA rules. The players have made various statements during the tournament, which if English players had done it, they would have been fined. And I think that's all that's being pointed out. Now, I don't believe we should escalate this beyond where it is. I genuinely don't. I don't want to. This talk that the players should be banned from playing the final or FIFA should expel. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, the thing is, in fairness, FIFA have been an absolute disgrace in this World Cup.
Yeah.
In terms of what they did against that American player who got sent off. Even, Ronaldo got sent off against Ireland before the World Cup. He should have got a 2-game match ban, and they reneged that before going into the World Cup. So I think people, looking for FIFA to do something with absolute, impartiality in the prospect of the game is never going to happen, is it?
No. Where are you from in Ireland, Patrick?
I'm from County Waterford.
Right, because I believe it or not, I'm spending my summer holiday in Ireland, and I'm going to Dublin, and I'm speaking at the West Cork History Festival.
Well, I'm delighted you're going to West Cork. So what I always say is get in a car, head over down the West Coast and the South Coast. That's where you'll have your best time.
Thank you very much indeed, Patrick. You don't get Rule Britannia.
That's made my night. I'm not getting that.
Well, you might have got Riverdance had I thought about it earlier, but we're a bit late with that, so you're not going to get that.
Enjoy your time in West Cork.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm sure I will. Oh, I'm so enjoying this hour, possibly more than I thought I was going to. You are listening to LBC. Let's take a text here. This is from Archie, who says, oh dear, sorry, Archie, I've deleted it by mistake. We'll see if we can get it back in a moment. This is one that says, if Burnham wants to make a good first impression, he'll fly the red arrows over Buenos Aires on his first day in office. Oh, that deserves a Royal Britannia, I think. It's 9:45.
Coming up at 10, Ben Kentish, leading Britain's conversation. Next on LBC.
Get unlimited video calls with vets from First Vet with Pets in a Pickle. For pet insurance policies as unique as they are, visit petsinapickle.co.uk.
Take summer by storm with Kia. Introducing the new Kia Sportage Storm, a unique limited edition of the UK's favourite family SUV. Test drive the award-winning Kia Sportage today and order yours by the 31st of August to get 5.9% APR representative and up to £3,000 PCP finance deposit contribution. Search Kia Take Summer by Storm.
Kia. Movement that inspires.
T's and C's apply. Kia Finance. To verify, visit kia.com/UK/favourite.
And McDonald's, feeding the little ones just got easier with a Happy Meal for just $2.99 on the app. That's long journey stop-offs and movie night feast sorted. Just a little spend for some big smiles. Some fun, some food. It's all inside this Happy Meal. Until the 1st of September from 11 a.m. Only on the app, not on delivery. One use per day. A maximum of 4 Happy Meals per redemption. Price may vary.
With the birthday draw, Global and ITV give you the chance to win a life-changing £1 million. In fact, the birthday draw is the only weekly draw where you can win £1 million for just £1. So, enter before midnight on Sunday from as little as £1 or via post at thebirthdaydraw.com. Is it your lucky day? From Global and ITV. T&Cs apply. 18 plus UK only. No purchase necessary. Verify at thebirthdaydraw.com/verify.
In a world full of noise and uncertainty, IG is the investment platform that backs you. Forget the dubious tips from that guy down the pub. Get real-time insights, analysis and tools. No more fat cat brokers clawing your gains. Pay zero commission on your investments. Switch to a platform trusted by British investors for over 50 years. IG. Trade, invest, progress. Your capital's at risk. Other fees may apply.
Iain Dale. Text 84850. This is LBC.
We're talking about the Falklands, FIFA, Argentina. What should be done about the Now, you may wonder why I'm laughing here, and it's because somebody in the gallery has on my screen, which I normally look at this screen for Zoom calls and things, we've now got the Union Jack flying. Should be the England flag, I think, though, on this occasion. But I'm not complaining. We're talking about the outrageous behaviour of the Argentinian players. What should FIFA do? What should our government do? Should they be a little bit more robust in their response to what happened last night? It's not that we're bad losers. We accept that we lost the match. We probably deserved to lose the match. But frankly, if FIFA don't take any action, what does it say about them? Given that they wouldn't let the England team wear poppies in the Remembrance Week, given that they wouldn't let Harry Kane wear the rainbow armband, captaining the country, yet they're supposed to be all in favour of equal rights, you would have to say that they would be completely hypocritical if they took no action. Now, I don't expect them to take any drastic action. They're not going to ban the players from the final. And I don't want them to. I really don't want them to, because I don't want to undermine the final. I will be cheering for Spain, as you might imagine, as I suspect most people in this country will after what happened last night. It was unnecessary. And I think it demeans Argentina as a nation, frankly. 0345 6060 973. A text here from Raymond, who says, I agree with the stand against Argentinian players involved in the stunt who earn their living by being reprimanded. Deportation is a bit much and not practical, as we know. But can their eligibility to work here be revoked? Just a thought. Well, it would be a bit arbitrary, wouldn't it? And I suspect it wouldn't stand up in the courts. There'd be some sort of rule that would mean that it would be a complete waste of time. And I think it would just be seen as vengeful. And we're not that kind of country, are we? We're better than that. Fraser is in West Lothian in Scotland. Hello, Fraser.
Hi, Ian. How are you?
Good, thank you. Now, please tell me you weren't cheering Argentina last night.
Of course I was, like every true Scot.
Oh.
What to me, Ian, this is hypocrisy and theatrical and hysteria on the part of the English media and politicians, and yourself as well, although maybe you're quite sort of good-humoured about it, I think. See, the thing is that...
Sorry, how have I been hysterical?
The whole discussion is... I mean, at the moment, you yourself have talked about not escalating things, which is good, thankfully. Yeah. A lot of people have been talking about escalating things.
Yeah, and I don't think that's right. So I don't know how I can be accused of being hysterical. I'm very funny. I'm hysterically funny. I know that.
Yeah, no, I did actually excuse you. If you listen back, I said that you accept yourself, but other people, I think politicians, the media, etc., and all the rest of it, but this actual conversation, I think, is hysterical, but it's also, to me, extremely hypocritical. We say the Union Jack. Now, the Union Jack is a political statement. It's a political statement of a political entity.
As all flags are.
Union Jack. Well, indeed, right? But it also means more than just, obviously, just England. It's, it encapsulates Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and other places.
And what's wrong with that?
Whether they like it or not.
Well, hang on. We are a united kingdom, and therefore you have a flag that represents all the four countries in the United Kingdom.
Right. So the argument is that the Falkland Islands are British through self-determination.
Yeah.
Now, I voted, as did majority Scots in 2021 and 2026, for pro-independence parties who said as part of their manifesto that there would be a referendum.
Mm.
Right, now we've been denied that referendum. We were denied the referendum in 2021.
You've had one.
We've been
and you voted against independence.
Yeah, but since then, there's obviously been the Brexit referendum as well. Now, the big argument in terms of the... we're taking a bit of a tangent here, obviously, but the big argument...
Well, you started it.
the big argument there was that we would stay in the EU if we stayed in the United Kingdom. Now, that didn't happen. But anyway, the point is, anyway, as I say, is that the Union Jack, to me, every time I see the Union Jack, I find it offensive. But you see that in terms of football.
You find it offensive?
It is, aye.
How can you find a flag offensive? Grow up, man. Come on.
Occupation.
No, it's not.
You're occupying England.
No, hang on.
Exploits the resources.
Do you remember?
Scotland.
I mean, look, you sound like an educated man to me. So you will know that in 1707, England and Scotland joined together voluntarily. There was no invasion. There was no colonisation. In fact, it was at the request of the Scottish Parliament because they were in financial difficulties, and the only way through it was to go into a partnership with England. That's what happened.
You'll also have heard of the rough wooing.
The what?
The rough wooing. There was hundreds of years of wars of of England invading Scotland.
Yeah, true.
There's all fortresses all over Scotland.
True.
And they're all for battalions.
Yeah. But you would accept what I'm saying, that the Union in 1707 was a voluntary one.
It was coercive, I would say.
No, it wasn't.
Except it was voluntary.
It wasn't coercive.
We can agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, but I'm right and you're wrong.
Whatever. So the thing is, with regards to the Falkland Islands, I mean, you can see that this situation has a real potential to be very much politicised. And the world in which we're in, the nature of politics in Britain, etc., and all the rest of it, this situation could quite easily escalate. Right.
Well, it can only escalate if Argentina escalates it.
Well, no, not necessarily. Like you said, I know that you were saying it tongue in cheek, but if the UK was to send 500 troops to the Falkland Islands and a couple of battleships or whatever and all the rest of it, that would be seen as an aggressive act.
Yes, it would. It would, and as you say, I wasn't suggesting that should happen.
But people will be. So I think we all need to take a bit of a step back. I think you could say it was a bit of light-hearted banter, okay? And but bear in mind, as I say, that the Union Jack means different things to different people all over the world. And from the hypocrisy point of view, if you're going to be getting upset about that, where you're saying that the Falkland Islands are Argentinian, to say that Scotland is, like we've had a whole week, ever since Norway, England beat Norway, we've had a whole week of browbeating us to tell us why we have to support England in the football because, we fought together in the Falkland Islands. It's a load of nonsense. It's 8,000 miles away.
I think the bigger question is, why is the Scotland football team so awful?
Well, that is a perfectly good question.
We agree on something. Fantastic.
I think it's been a lack of aspiration, a lack of steely determination, a lack of courage. The players went there and underperformed. I don't understand how you can get these players going on the world stage with the eyes on them and them not playing the very, very best. I think Lewis Ferguson played great. I think John McGinn played good. But the rest of them...
Who was that? I'm trying to remember his name. There was a little winger who I thought was...
he's brilliant.
Doak, that's the one.
Yeah.
I thought he was excellent. But anyway, as I always say, we don't do football on LBC, so we'd better finish that conversation. I'm tempted to play Rule Britannia just to annoy you.
Don't spare me.
I better not.
I appreciate the time and the conversation.
Thank you very much indeed. Jack's in Hornchurch. Jack, hello.
Hi, Ian. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I initially got in contact following the call with chap earlier because I found his point a little odd about the kind of colonisation aspect and not giving votes to people then to vote against being British, essentially. And I kind of found that a bit odd because that's kind of eventually what happened, right? And then prior to that actually happening was a different time when ultimately we shouldn't have colonised anyone. It's, in modern day standards, it's an abhorrent thing to do, to rule over people like that. But I suppose getting to the point about the Argentinian players, I just find it kind of immature from them, but not really something that even warrants a response from the UK government, in my opinion. I think, much ado about nothing, really.
Yeah, well, I rather agree with you on that, and I think sometimes we need to be a bit bigger. Thank you very much. Archie says, why has no one mentioned Hong Kong yet? We sold them down the river, but who's going to argue with China? Not the UK, certainly. Well, that's, again, a complete misreading of history. You cannot compare what happened with Hong Kong with the Falkland Islands. We have permanent sovereignty over the Falkland Islands. We didn't have permanent sovereignty over Hong Kong. We had a lease which ended in 1997. And if you're suggesting that the Thatcher government, who were negotiating the terms of when the Chinese took over, if you're suggesting that Margaret Thatcher could have taken on the Chinese and said, well, we're going to keep Hong Kong regardless of what you say, you are delusional. I mean, it could not have happened, could it? You know that, Archie. Right, we've got a few seconds left and we'll devote it to Ranjit in Albury. Hello, Ranjit.
Hi, I've called a bit too late, but, this thing about the Argentinian protest or whatever they're doing, when Donald Trump never let the referee in, FIFA, we never done nothing. When he got that card rescinded, we never done nothing. FIFA never done nothing. So the same things are going to happen now.
FIFA rescinded it. That was the problem.
Well, there you are. So it's corrupt. The FIFA has been corrupted and it's ruined the game of football. Look how many fouls there were yesterday. The Argentinians were out there to beat our boys up, not win a game of football. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and the referee should have taken action accordingly and failed to.
Yeah, and then Donald Trump is good friends with the Argentinian president or prime minister, so there's connections there.
Yeah.
And I think we all should have just, when they turned that referee away, all the other referees should have come back to their own native countries and said, carry on with your tournament.
Well, they're never going to do that. But Ranjit, you of all people deserve a Rule Britannia.
Thank you.
Ranjit, thank you. What a cracking hour of radio. Well, ladies, I've enjoyed myself. I hope you have too. Thanks for all of your calls and messages this evening and throughout this week. I'll be back on Monday evening from 7 when we'll be talking about Andy Burnham's first day as Prime Minister. Coming up at 1 on LBC, it's Clive Bull, but right now, here's Ben Kentish.
Like the last night of the proms.
I know.
Ian, thank you very much indeed. Hello, a very, very good evening to you. Ben Kentish here on LBC until 1 o'clock. Coming up.
Any civilized country, first world country, people who can afford food themselves and afford to live themselves should be saving these people's lives.
A refugee from Gaza has won the right to bring 18 family members to